Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time for the best damn comic book-based YouTube program that you're going to find, the Comics Aficionados panel. We got Fatal J with the Fatal Close-Up early on. It's time to talk about comics and piracy. We've got a couple of big issues that came out from Marvel, specifically Venom 200. We also had Planet-Size X-Men. A couple other controversies to talk about here this week. And, okay, Urkel's out. He'll be back. We got the Fatal Diva in the house. A great panel. First up, we want to say thank you very much to Eric Canete for making it. Comic book artist, but he's also he's an artist within the video game industry as well. How you doing, Eric?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, Dan.
Well, I'm glad you could make it. Next up, we have the most fatal YouTuber in all the lands, Fatal J.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say, Eric, I have some of your books. I'm going to need you to sign them right now, sir, live on.
I'm on my way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me, Wes. Even though you harassed me to come on the show, I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, you never say yes anymore. I have to just bother you. I almost had to shake you down to get you here.
I understand.
Next up, we've got Drew with Comics Elite out in Indianapolis, Indiana. That's quite the showroom you got there, sir.
Thank you. Yes, glad to be back, and yeah, there's always something to show off, always something to grab to show off on during the live show.
We appreciate it. Next up, we've got the curmudgeon of Critical himself, Pele. How you doing?
I'm here.
Remember, he's live from parts unknown. If you want to know where his comic shop is, I'm not sure.
I'm not going to tell you either because I have crazy woke idiots who are trying to kill me. But no, seriously, I'm in the bowels of Appalachia, way up in the mountains, and it is absolutely gorgeous here. But I'm still salty, so fuck it.
There you go. And last but not least, we have the co-host of the Comics Aficionados. How you doing, Don?
I'm spectacular. I don't know why Pele's always so goddamn grumpy. But hey, I'm happy to be here because I get to talk about fucking comic books for like 2 hours on a Saturday morning when I could probably be cutting grass and I really don't want to.
You could also be finishing up what are you doing this week? Are you making countertops? What's it?
Yeah, I'm putting a countertop on my miter and radial arm saw station that I built in my basement.
Man, this is like grandpa talk. Yeah, I just fixed the counter and I'm just
sorry, Jay.
Fucking old. Shut up.
He's proud of his lawn and his countertops he's made. What do you want? So let's get into the comics and piracy talk. This is going to be the first big topic that we have. We've got a super chat from Lane Kramer. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. So with all the talk of other dimensions in comics, could Kenneth Dowling, super chat man, his initials be Ancient Duckburgian for Scrooge McDuck? Perhaps he could be. We do know that Kenneth Dowling is in Florida at a wedding. So we missed you, my friend. I hope you watch this on the broadcast, and hopefully we'll see you next week. But there's a good chance he's related to Scrooge McDuck. Good call there, Lane Kramer.
Does he have one of those vaults? Does he have a Scrooge McDuck vault? He just dives into, swim.
Absolutely,
swim in the money.
We've also got Breen in the house. If you like Breen, say hi to him. What's up, Tom?
Hey, what I like about Kenneth though, like you can say something regarding the super chat, and then he'll respond to you for responding to his super chat with a super chat.
it's deception.
That's super.
I love Kenneth, man.
Absolutely, we love everybody on the channel. So let's talk about piracy in comic books. I do want to send it first to Eric Canete. You, of course, are in the video game industry. You've done some animation work.
Sure.
It feels like if you're going to do entertainment now, you are working in a digital age. There's going to be digital piracy. Is this something that you guys, within your other industries that you work in, is it something that's always on the mind? How have they dealt with digital piracy?
I don't know if there's a 100% security-proof way of dealing with piracy. I think if you take a step back away from it, when business is doing well, you account for piracy, but it's not contingent on it. You know what I mean? The business doesn't pass or fail because of it, right? But when business is doing poorly, at least in the context of this comic book piracy, then everybody starts to pay attention. So what are my thoughts on how comics are being pirated? It's gonna get pirated no matter what, right? So you have to fix it on the front end by selling so much that piracy becomes negligible.
Wow.
Yeah, it's part of the environment. It's part of the ecosystem of trading and entertainment nowadays.
I'm not dismissing it.
No. I'm just saying it's a problem. that won't go away. Somebody's always going to find a way around it. It's been happening ever since, the internet came online. We had Napster and Lars Ulrich and Metallica started fighting against.
I feel like y'all judging me right now. Is y'all talking about me or something? Because, okay, I'm guilty.
You little Napster? Was that your handle back in the day?
Napster, whatever. But if it's super dope, I have to go pick it up. That's kind of sometimes my way to decide if I'm going to go ahead and buy it. But yes, I've been guilty of that, and I'm sorry, okay? Stop talking about me, sir.
I only do that with creators I really dislike. Is that bad? Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. Okay, that's bad. All right.
Here's the thing. Like, there's that great meme about, all the piracy and everything, and the guy wearing the pirate hat, and then Netflix shows up on his screen, and he's like, wait, this is pretty good. And like, he goes and puts his pirate hat in the case. Like, I don't need you anymore. And now you're looking at like the same image, but like 17 different streaming services all on his screen. And he's looking at it going, long time no see, old friend, as he pulls the pirate hat back out. Because here's the thing though with that, it makes sense, because you had, why did iTunes become so successful? Because you had a cheap, easy way to digitally access the material that you wanted, that it was so little work and so little cost to you, that because it was able to deal in such high volume, that it didn't matter. Like it worked. You disincentivized piracy by buying it legally cheap and easily accessible. Yeah. And and then by having it cheap and easily accessible, you get tens of millions of customers that make that, that piracy issue, the couple bucks that you're losing on that, it becomes a rounding error, because as you said, you're a successful business then. Mm-hmm. Comics isn't in that shape.
Yes.
So we do have a super chat from Darth Bobcat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. In retrospect, I wonder how many of my broke friends who I talk comics with online actually bought the books. I wondered where they got the money. I don't know. Drew, how big of a problem do you think comic book piracy is? Is there a percentage of the comic book readership that you think is actually pirating a majority of their books?
I want to say maybe probably 20%, probably a little more. Probably higher than that. I mean, I can understand why people do it. Do I agree with it? No. I sympathize. I can understand why, as a consumer myself. Like, if there's a comic I want to get, but there's a certain creator attached to it that may or may not be putting things into it that I don't agree with, I may be hesitant about buying that, because something may happen where it's like, okay, I'll test it out on these sailing the high seas and read this, see if it's worth any money. Oh, well, it's actually good. I'll go out and go buy it. So, I mean, I can understand why. Do I condone it? No. But I understand why. But there's a good percentage of people, that actually do it. It's probably, I'm going to say probably 20%, probably right around there.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
Let me be honest real quick. How many comics come out monthly? I'm talking about all the comics that come out monthly. You mean to tell me it's people out there?
It's like 120, maybe even more than that.
So that's probably like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 if you really the legit comic book buyer out there. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't condone it either, even though I do it. But you mean to tell me people are buying all these comic books constantly? No, sir. No, sir, not at all.
I think with piracy, percentage-wise, for lower distribution books, in the 5,000 to 10,000 range, I think you could have upwards of 200% of the readership pirating it. And I'd say for a lot of your mid to low tier big two titles, you could probably have upwards of 100%. And but for big successful books, stuff that is really, really good and selling well, I think as it gets better, the percentage goes down and the total number of people goes down even greater.
Yep. But you guys, can we all agree that it's, that the reason why it's such a big deal is because the front end business is broken.
Yes.
Oh God, yes.
Right.
It's so brutal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's why people make it emotional. That's why they say, like, they make it about feelings, about like how you're impacting the creators, and which is not untrue, right? But that you make it about an emotional plea rather than, you know, putting it into the category of like, it's not necessarily negligible, but it's definitely like, okay, it's not going to impact us all that much, because piracy is going to happen no matter what.
But
right?
Eric, that's true,
you've got a biblical amount of people that pirate comics, in no small part because they hate those people who make them, but they want to read about their favorite characters, and they want to read those stories. But man, they really hate that guy that runs his mouth all the time and is a jerk off.
But Eric, that's so
and I hear
true.
that all the time at the shop, so it's normal.
That's so true though what Eric said. If it wasn't so broken, I wouldn't have to go into the bowels of the internet underworld to see if this comic book is good or not. You know what I mean? I could just go to the...
Also, if we had a trustworthy media where you could rely on a lot of the reviews, you know, there's a lot of shill sites out there that aren't all that honest with what you're going to be reading in the book.
That's what I'm talking about, right? That's the front end that I'm talking about, right? Like, you fix the front end business, the back end stuff, which is the piracy. That becomes like, okay, there's no getting around that. People are going to steal.
So Joshua McDonald, who's from BatmanNews.com, he does reviews. He's one of the more trusted reviewers as far as Batman materials. Really like his stuff. He says there are a lot of download sites, but there's also YouTube channels that let people read comics in the books, and they get thousands of views. Where you're literally going through it page by page.
Is that
I do my
true?
reviews.
Wow.
I do.
Yeah.
I limit myself on the amount of pages and the amount of panels that I'm willing to show. But there are comic book channels out there, Doc, that will literally show you the entire comic.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
they will.
I'm not going to name names specifically, but there's a couple of channels that are around 1 million sub YouTube channels that will basically read you the fucking comic. They just literally they erase they empty the word bubbles and then read it to you.
I know you're talking about.
So you can't read it. You can't just read it on the screen. You have to listen to it. But they show every goddamn page and every panel.
Holy man.
But Doc, I want to ask you: is that still kind of showing a little respect by blocking the bubbles, the word?
It doesn't matter.
Because he's still
what the
showing the
words
art,
are.
right? That's still showing the art.
If you're gonna read it to me, I don't need to. All that means is I don't read it myself. They're reading it
Just
to me.
the way
I'm still
around
looking.
getting a copyright strike.
They dropping
I was
names.
just about to say.
And these but the thing is, these are channels that the big two publishers and the comics media also fawn all over. The people that they're literally they're the ones that are getting invites to shows and getting their travel and everything comped by Marvel and DC and Image, while they're the ones basically reading the fucking comic to the people that they're not selling the comic to, because they know that they could just go on their website or they're on their YouTube channel and listen to them reading it to me.
That's true though.
I don't know about the comps and stuff, but they certainly seem to have access.
I want to say this real quick because I know you got to get to the super chat, because in the backstage, Wes be like, "Shut up and let me address the super chat." So let me say this real fast. Doc, you was absolutely right, because I have a nephew. He kind of dabble in the comic books, but he says I go to so and so YouTube channel to get caught up with all the current comic books that's coming out. So Doc, you absolutely right, sir.
Yeah.
You're right, and he's not buying them. He's not buying them.
And we do have Ryan Wilson. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Funny how these creators say billionaires and corporations are evil, yet get mad when people refuse to give these same corporations money. I don't know, Pele. Is it hypocritical?
Oh, if it wasn't for double standards, they'd have no standards at all.
Absolutely.
So,
well said. Well said.
It's really insane too, because Marvel's is not poor, Disney is not poor, but Marvel's publishing arm is in serious trouble, and the profits, they're going to try. The profits from this are going to try to put band-aids on the problem so that Disney doesn't just come in and just shut them down. So they keep jacking the prices up, hoping that the bigwigs won't just come in and just clean house. But that's what we need to happen. So on the one hand, I'm like, I really want people to just buy the comics, and I want them to do what's right. And, I don't like people just, stealing everything and reading it. And on the other hand, if it gets bad enough, they'll just come in and we'll just clean house. Disney will finally just say, you guys lose too much money, screw you, and you're out. And they'll come in and put in a new editor-in-chiefs and everything like that and just do everything over.
Assuming they even bother to continue printing new material.
I think they would.
But we're
going to get into that.
I don't understand. I don't understand the morality of because it's a big corporation, it's okay for me to steal from them.
Right.
But from smaller creators, I won't steal from them. And you're like, so you're okay with stealing.
It's a Robin Hood effect. Thank you very much to Ryan Wilson. We got another super chat from Zook's Pop Culture. Hopefully everybody in the shop is watching this today and they're having a good time. Greetings from England, extra special greetings from the Queen for Doc. There you go.
Thank you.
Your Majesty.
Doc did have a dramatic heel turn last week on the wonderful people of Great Britain.
How is that wonderful old lady?
That's why I was wondering, how old is the Majesty? How old is she?
92.
Wow. Jeez Louise.
Wow.
So thank you very much for supporting the channel, and I hope everyone's having a good time talking about comics here. We've also got Darth Bobcat. Comics bring more widespread would negate
Comics bring more widespread would negate this.
Being more widespread would negate this. Absolutely. A bigger customer base.
One letter.
Would certainly negate a lot of this, and I think that's where a lot of these problems come into. So let's talk about some of the tweets that we saw this week, and we'll talk about this first one. And I don't know. This is Erik Larsen. This is within his piracy kind of debate that he had on Twitter. These companies are floundering, failing, talking about DC, Marvel, and other publishers. The threat from upstairs that they'll go all reprints and stop producing new material. They're doing everything they can to stay alive. If you can't afford it, do without. Drew, I'm getting kind of tired of this. Is the comic industry good or is it dying? Because if it serves their argument, it's never been better. But if it comes to piracy, you're killing everything.
I honestly really think it all comes down to the comic book shops, period, and not the publishers. I'll say for us, Comics Elite, we're doing well. We're doing fine. Doing great, actually. We're opening up another store. It really just it's all about adapting to the market, just knowing what your customers want. I think that's where it really is. Looking at what the market has for you to buy and what your customers will want. I think that's what it all comes down to, knowing your customers and just what you have. With these guys, all I'm going to say is Erik Larsen, he tends to shoot his mouth off before he thinks.
Oh, yeah.
That he does. We've also got another super chat from Everett Todd. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. The publishers actually paying attention to foreign markets would help. Absolutely, it would, because they could learn a thing or two from foreign markets, because they've, in many cases, Doc, they've already cracked the code as far as piracy and dealing with it and working with that environment, specifically manga and some of the European comic book publishers.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go, Eric.
I was going to ask, this is in response to somebody, I don't have context on it. So we're focusing on this part, but I'm going to guess is about piracy as well, right? That second part is the part that I want to focus on the most. Whoever's seen that third part is if you can't afford it, do without. I don't know how much more plain and clear that can be. And as far as the generality of people, Eric may have inside scoop on things that I don't have access to. I don't know. He's Erik Larsen. I'm the other Eric, but I don't.
You're the better
I don't know,
Eric.
Man.
Yeah.
You're the cooler.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know where he's getting that from. To your point, Wes, is the comic book industry doing as well or as poorly as some people may have you believe? I can't tell. I think this is more trying to leverage the idea of don't steal because people are doing poorly. And again, it's starting to become emotional rather than based on data. That third part is what I want people to focus on.
Bad assumption that if people weren't allowed to pirate, they would just go buy the books.
That's
And
ridiculous.
I'll be honest, I think a lot of people pirate because they don't want to buy the books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yep. That's what I was talking about.
I'll be honest, my times when I do sail the high seas, which I try to keep to a bare minimum, they're for books that you could not pay me to purchase. I mean, literally, like there's not enough money in that store to make me walk home and infect my house with whatever bad juju is going to come with that comic book. Because it's that terrible. Now, granted, I will sooner risk my computer getting cancer than to go to a pirate site than I will to have one of these comics in my home. Mostly because I'd be embarrassed that it's there. I could pretend that it never happened on a pirate site. But no, like they're books that nobody wants. Nobody's going to buy them. I mean, you might have a 1%, 2% that would, if they couldn't pirate, they'd actually go buy. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Also, I want to throw this one to you, Fatal J. Also, I think there's a misconception by a lot of the creators that when they see the download number, they're like, "Oh my goodness, I only sold 7,500 issues of my comic, but 5,000 people downloaded it." Your comic was included in 5,000 bundle downloads, where they bundled up your comic within all the Batman stuff, the X-Men stuff that all dropped that week, and it was downloaded with that. It doesn't mean it was actually read.
That's true. That's true.
Unfortunately.
But I want to say this real quick regarding Eric Larson. I'm a big Eric Larson fan, but have you guys read Savage Dragon lately?
It's a porn comic. It's bad.
Yeah. After I read one of his latest books, I have to take at least 2 hot, scalding showers because I feel so filthy for reading it. And don't get me wrong, I'm an Eric Larson fan, but what happened to Savage Dragon?
If I wanted to read superhero porn, I'd go watch an Axel Braun movie. I mean,
That's like my manager calls him, it's Sewage Dragon. And that's basically it. It's how bukkake and superheroes, and you get to a point where it's farcical, and I just he's been doing the same shtick for 10, 15 years now with that book. So
is it just he tried?
It just gets worse.
Is it just to the point? And I'm not trying to make this the Eric Larson show, but is he trying to get to the point where he's trying to be the longest running comic book of all time?
Well,
I think so. It's part of
he's going to have to pass
the
the
whole
Technical
thing.
Comics. It's on 1,000.
no, what he wants to do is have the longest run with him drawing every issue.
Yeah, with an artist, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have another super chat. This one I'm going to throw to Fatal J's way. Fatal J as well. Piracy today equals passing comics to a friend back in my day. The problem is that corporations insulate themselves from the consumer rage and indifference. # Disney is cancer.
Yeah,
Is that
I
how
remember
it
that.
feels like when you're pirating? It's like, well, I would have borrowed this from a friend anyway.
No, because this is the thing. If it's absolutely dope, I'm buying it. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. I pirated Last Ronin before I bought it. But man, I'm so happy that I bought that. Look, why you shaking your head, man? Look, I just didn't know. Because some of the Turtles runs are kind of but that is one of the best comic books that came out this recent.
Dude, it was
Millennium.
Eastman and Laird.
I know.
Come on.
But sometimes you can't shake it. You know what I mean? You can't shake it.
No, that's one of the
Selling the
problems
7 Cs.
that there is with the industry, Jay, is a lot of people just don't have faith that buying a comic book sight unseen is a good investment in their money.
Yeah.
See, Sean and I, when we do our weekly reviews on Tuesdays, we give our honest opinions on the comics. We do our skip its and mez, and we do our top 10 picks of the week. So we try to encourage people. It's like, hey, you want to buy these or these? Not so much. Like Venom, I said Venom was a meh to me, And then I saw your request, and I thought it's not worth $10. But yeah, we
Some people loved it.
Yeah.
I bought the one cover that looks like the Spider-Man head covers, just so I could have a set. That was it. Yeah, that's all I cared about. I just wanted the one Stegman cover that looked like the Spider-Man heads. But and I had a lot of custom. I ordered that variant because I knew it would be the popular one, and it was. So
Nice.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I was looking at a lot of the conversation about this, and I know we said this back in the, getting back onto what Eric was talking about, at the front end business being just screwed up. And I know I said this back in, backstage before we got started. But no, these creators, they don't understand the basic math involved with creating a comic. Like, and that,
well, Eric Larson is the chief financial officer.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, well, that doesn't mean he knows fuck all about finance.
Oh, I bet you he knows more about comic book finance than you do, Doc. He's actually the chief financial officer of a comic book company.
I don't give a shit. He can't do basic arithmetic.
When did you have a math off with it?
All right, fine. How much does it cost to create a comic, and does it matter whether you sell 5,000 or 500,000?
It depends on how much you pay the artist, and how much, like, what the materials cost.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you pay the artist, because you divide it up by the total number of units. That's a static number, no matter how many copies you sell.
And the more you pay the person, the more units you have to sell to be profitable, Doc.
Yes,
it does matter how much you had to pay the artist.
No, it doesn't, because when it only matters if you're dealing with bullshit tiny numbers, and that's the problem.
Oh, like the comic book industry.
Yeah, the comic book industry is in bullshit tiny number territory. That's the reason why piracy matters to them. Now they've played for the last fucking month like comics is great, but when it actually comes down to it, no, it's not. And this is them, showing the true state of the comic industry.
Well, they like to lump manga numbers in when it suits them to say, "Oh, look, comics are doing great. Look at trade sales. Yeah, because 90% of that are manga in the United States. And look how great this is. Yeah, let's look at floppies per month. Oh no, we don't talk about that.
Well, let's get into Ryan Wilson's super chat here. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, Ryan. Does Eric not realize that most people don't want the new stuff and would rather have the old stuff? So it's not smart to threaten what people actually want.
Damn right.
It's
Is that a recent? Can I ask you guys? Is that a recent development? Like suddenly there's been this sort of cultural switch where people said we want to start buying back issues as opposed to the new issues.
I was preaching it back around 2014, and I said, "This is the future. The future is in the past," and everybody laughed at me. Yeah. And now back issues outsell new by a factor of about 20 times.
I'm wondering if there's people on these kinds of meetings that are asking that question. Like, what is it that we are doing? I mean, to assume that they're doing something wrong feels natural, but maybe there's something there. I don't know if they're discussing it. That would boggle the mind if they're like, wait a second, our back issues, which by the way, we get 0%.
Okay, they have discussed it because at Comic-Con, not 2019, who was it? It was Dan Didio and Jim Lee were up on a panel, and they were lamenting the fact that their reprints of old materials were outselling their new comics of the same character.
Yep.
So they understand it, but they can't seem to compensate for it.
Because that would require a degree of being self-critical, of accepting that they did something wrong for the last 10 years.
Mm.
And they
voting up for your part of the problem.
Sorry, I'm the naive guy in the room, guys.
No. This is great.
And additionally, not only would they have to accept that they did something wrong for the last 10 years, they would also be silently accepting that all the critics that they think are terrible, terrible, bad people were right. And they would have to admit that, and they don't want to. So there's this degree of like cognitive dissonance that they put themselves through to not accept all of the repercussions of, while they accept that, our weird, it's weird, our dollar reprints or our reprints of these back issues are selling better than the exact same brand new comic, new story that no one's ever read before with the same character. It's like they can't get past that part and then come to they have the if, they just don't want to understand the then of the if-then state.
A lot of talking about symptoms and not a lot of talking about the underlying conditions that are causing a lot of these things, to be completely honest.
Eric, guess what the number one selling comic at our shop of all time by a massive margin is? The number one selling issue. Take a guess.
I have no idea.
The Amazing Spider-Man 300 True Believers.
Yes.
Wow.
True Believers,
Went to
Amazing
a second
Spider-Man
print.
300.
That's crazy. Went to a
It
second.
is,
For a dollar comic.
insane. It is insane. I bought 25,000 copies of that and giving it away at different shows and giving it away at different, but mostly selling them. And also during the free comic book days, I give them out and stuff because it's just an amazing comic. But number one in sales, though, of all issues is that book by massive margins.
So people were wondering where all this debate came from. This was the tweet from Eric Larson on the piracy debate. There is no debate. It's criminal behavior. People are struggling to make a living, and you're taking what they're creating without giving them compensation. There is no justification. Certainly agree with him there.
He's not wrong.
Yes, he's right there. I do want to talk about Ram V's tweet. And I think this is a lot of the disconnect and the not understanding the mindset that's going along with piracy. He says, I can't wrap my head around the affordability argument. I really can't think of anywhere else you could buy 22 pages of painstakingly drawn illustrations plus episodic narrative content as physical objects that you own, even as a printing of original art. That is mind-boggling.
I am going to say something right here before we get started. Bitch, this shit was painstakingly handcrafted at 12 cents, too.
Yeah.
Now it's $4.
Yeah. Even if you follow the rate of inflation, it would only be about a $2.50 book.
Yeah.
By now,
Yeah.
if you follow the rate of inflation.
It's a weird pivot conversationally to think that, because you have to put it into context of relativity, right? And this is entertainment at its core. And it's $4 for 2 minutes, 3 minutes worth of entertainment. That doesn't make it
10 or
5.
15, maybe.
Right.
If you really sit and savor the artwork and you know
Right.
look over everything very, but the problem
who
is
looks at
modern art.
artwork in comics? You know what I mean?
It depends who's doing it. If it is a really great Bagley, somebody like that, and it's just or even McFarlane when he rarely does a book or something like that.
Sure.
Just one of the greats. You're just sitting there, and I'll spend 15 minutes on a page. I'll be like, wow.
Or Ram has Mike Perkins doing Swamp Thing for him. I'm gonna spend that time looking at that art. But some of these guys don't have the illustrators who I really zeroed in on that painstakingly drawn, because some of these artists really aren't that descriptive in their art. So some of them, it's not really worth that time or money.
It's like the new Beta Ray Bill. Oh my God!
Yes,
that is insane. Who's the artist? Because it's
Daniel
Warren Johnson.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It is just it. I'm sitting there and I'm looking through some of those pages, and I'm like, it's that artwork that's so, it's not beautiful, but it's so beautiful. Well, it's so intricate. It's so well done, and it evokes so much emotion. You could tell that he put his blood, sweat, and tears into this. It's a passion project for him, and it comes through. And I love it. I love every one of those issues. I probably spend at least 30, 40 minutes with every one of them.
I don't know if you guys believe in this, but if the comic book industry, mainstream comic book industry, took as much time to sort of vet out, understand their IP, and put the right talent on it, I think we wouldn't be having this sort of disparity of conversation.
That's
right?
it.
If they understood their IP and what they were trying to sell. Because I saw a comic book recently where I'm like, that's what passes for mainstream comic book art now. Mm-hmm. And that's not at all indicative of the thing that you're trying to draw.
And it's made with models and clip art is what it looks like.
It's not meant to diminish the guys who are actually drawing it. It's just that the people who are hiring them are saying this is okay for our brand. Yeah. And I don't know of any other industry in which art is regarded as well as narrative that would actually be a practice. That seems ridiculous to me.
Well, I know Wes and I had this conversation because we had it a few weeks ago, because the comic industry stopped being, you stopped climbing a mountain and you started working on a pegboard where you just kind of jump up and down and up and down. You're getting started on big projects where you're too green. You're all raw. You don't have any style to you yet. And they're putting you on a big project. And then by the time you get good, instead of being on the marquee shit,
sure,
you're too expensive. Now you're overdoing, you're working for Jeff Johns on a Mad Ghost book or something, but that sells 10,000 copies. What the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. You want your best on your best, not your 100%. Best on someone else's no-name indie project. Everything's all sideways.
And this takes us away from the piracy conversation, Liz, so I'm sorry, but one more thing. Like, I can't remember the last time when I'm getting feedback, and by the way, I feel like it's been a decade since I did anything mainstream, but I can't remember the last time that I got art feedback from an actual art director who had the pedigree in their pocket to go like, yeah, change this panel because this creates a tangent, move this over because the legibility is really, really way off, or this cover compositionally would be so much stronger if you did X. It's been forever since I got that. The last bit of, and I remember going online with this, I'm like, does anybody else in the industry get feedback from an actual art director? Or are you guys getting feedback from, and I'm not pointing anybody out in specific, are you guys getting feedback from an inexperienced editor about art? And people kind of shunned that comment like you wouldn't believe. They were like, "Don't talk about that.
I want to talk to you about behind the scenes. I wouldn't
talk offline.
Names out there.
Yeah.
It's this.
Anyway,
there's some
sorry
stuff.
about that, you guys.
No,
wonderful
that's good.
insight.
Well, you're not wrong, because I mean, Sean Murphy got dragged over the coals for talking about it from a writing perspective. What he wanted in an editor, and like, this was like basic kind of publishing 101 shit, and the comic industry lost its fucking mind.
Yeah.
Shane Davis talks about that all the time too on his YouTube channel. How he was working on the Metal Men, and he had an inexperienced editor, trying to fix things. He's like, wait a minute, you understand that's not going to work, right? There's a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of inexperienced people as editors of these companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Andy Corey, he went from like editing, I don't know, a comic book news website to being an editor on a comic book.
To be fair, in Andy's defense, the bunch of work that I'd done for him while he was at DC passed through the very careful and guided hand that was Mark Chiarello. So he never did things independently. Like anytime that I would turn something in, Mark would have eyeballs on it almost immediately. And the notes that I was getting were being proxied through Andy, but it was from Mark. So respect to all of them over there.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up though, back with Ram's tweet, was it was kind of there was this weird kind of there was something that he didn't realize that he said in there, which was he didn't understand economies of scale. And you pay a lot more for a print. Well, how many copies of an A4 print? How many copies of a print are getting made?
Mm-hmm.
A couple thousand, 2,000 maybe. And you're also printing it on incredibly high quality paper, like hang it on your wall, frame it kind of paper. So let's factor that out here. But it's basic math on this. It's like this arithmetic that they don't understand. The cost on a comic to produce it is whatever your page rate is for all of your creators times 22 plus a cover. It doesn't matter really. There's not a huge difference in actual dollar amounts whether you print 10,000 copies or 50,000 copies. It's basically the same price. Not price per unit, like price.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like your actual bill from the printer is going to be about the same whether you print 10,000 copies or 50,000 copies. But if you sell 50,000 copies, you're able to divide that total flat creative work over 50,000 units instead of 10. Same with a print, same with art books, same with books, same with video games.
Because the setup costs are most of it.
Yeah, video games they might have a budget of a couple 10, 20, $50 million. I don't know. Eric, you can answer that question. But you're selling 20, 40, 50 million copies of a manga or a video game, and you're charging a reasonable price for it. It's the reason why video games, price-wise, from a Nintendo game in the 1980s to an Xbox, Series S or whatever the hell their current system is only changed by 20%. The price on a comic has only moved, or on a video game has only moved by about 20 to 30%.
Yeah, Ranvi's compares, like that's why I was saying, offline, that his comment is a comics perception problem. He wants to, if I were to put this in car manufacturer terms, he wants you to believe that the money that you're spending is equivalent to like spending it on a high-end Bentley, right? People look at a Bentley and go, no, I don't think I want to spend that much. I'm going to go buy a Honda instead. Yeah. It's a car. That's how people see it. They want to make it affordable and they want it accessible to them. What you're saying is, well, this Bentley is handcrafted. They only make X amount of it. It's so it's bespoke in so many ways, and it has the association of being this high-end brand. But that doesn't matter, right? People look at that and go, I don't think that's any better than the Honda that I just bought.
Well, I mean, you've also got you've got the situation where you're going to say it's handcrafted and everything like that, when it's the worst printing quality in the comic book industry.
There's more lemons than Mercedes right now in the comic book.
You could almost see through the paper that's so thin that they're printing on right now, and because I look at paper. I'm a big, I do awesome. I do comic pressing. I do all sorts of stuff. I know paper. And the worst that the paper has ever been in the comic book industry is in the late 1980s when the last of the newsprint, that stuff was like onion peel, and today.
Yeah.
Those are the two worst paper qualities that have ever been in the comic book industry. And we're kind of talking about stuff all the way back to the 1930s.
Yeah, like during today. World War II, whenever they were having paper shortages.
Yeah, it still was not that bad. It still was not as cheap and flimsy and everything as it is today.
Well,
yeah. So. All right. I need to get to these last couple of super chats. Thank you so much to Ryan Wilson. End of the day, when you tell people to do something, they do the opposite, especially when you don't like them.
Especially when they don't like you either.
Yeah.
You have to create a repertoire with your customer base. You want them to want to spend money and support you. And I think that is a lost art with a lot of entertainers, specifically in the comic book industry. You don't want to give people a reason not to give you money.
I think a lot of these creators are forgetting that, once again, they're forgetting that they're commercial artists. Emphasis on fucking commercial, which means selling things.
Also, we've got Alfonso Ontiveros. I think this is 20 Mexican pesos. Youngsters get more with $5 on video game content than they with a comic book. There are plenty of games out there on your mobile device that you can play forever and never spend in a dollar. And if you spend $5 in game, you can get a lot of little bonuses, and then probably just take a week off of whatever it is that you were working on.
I can get more than 2 gallons of gasoline than I can in the comic now for a lot.
I try my best to make things as close to apples as possible. Yeah. So if we're going to talk about publishing, art that has word balloons and narrative and story to it, I always go like, why would you buy a Western comic book versus going into a shop and buying like manga instead? If we're going to do, as close to apples as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very difficult competition to have.
Also, if you think about the digital realm, why would you get a Marvel Universe app when you could go get Shonen Jump for $2 a month and you get unlimited access and you get same day access when the new comic or the new manga are published? Mm-hmm. You don't have to wait 6 months.
Yeah, it's an infrastructure they should have invested in a long time ago, but they couldn't understand how to make it work that helped them leverage the most profit. And who spoke about this earlier, but sometimes the beginnings of anything, you have to take a loss, right? Because you're building towards something sustainable, and they just couldn't wrap their mind around it.
Yeah, I mean, Disney Plus, Netflix, I mean, most of the Silicon Valley starts out, there's a reason why it's just getting pumped full of venture capital money, because it doesn't make a profit for its first 3, 4, 7 years, and then it's expected to hit that point of no return and just blow past everything. And comics went the other way back back a while ago, they hit a point of no return where it's impossible for them to, without making their product. I mean, and this is the good thing and the bad thing about being owned by a giant mega corporation. The good thing is the mega corporation could do it if they wanted to. The bad thing is they don't become mega corporations by doing it. But they could turn comics into a loss leader for a period of time to grow an audience and make it a viable product anymore. Look,
but in the end, you're going to make more money with a big booming streaming platform than you will even with the comic book subscription platform.
It seems like, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, it seems like everything that comics is doing right now, everything is geared towards the short term.
Oh, yes. God, yeah. Well, they've had their entire, I mean, I go back to, I know a lot of people like to say like 2015, 2017. It started around 2010, 2012. And that's when they started getting into everything was short-term gimmicks to artificially pump numbers. And their short-term became their long-term plan because every single time it would work a little less. And they didn't have because they never fixed any of the underlying problems with comics.
Right. There's two approaches, right? One is, and I don't know how true this still is, which is it's so much more expensive to go out and get new customers than it is to maintain the customers that you already have.
Oh, yeah.
The way that works is if you have a core customer base that, number one, is so incredibly loyal to your product, they'll buy it no matter what, or maybe it doesn't age itself out, right? And if there's no other competition. But its comics has that unique problem of both.
Now, Eric, watch this, though. That's funny you said it looks short term. Now, look at manga.
Right.
That's the long term. They doing everything like the 90s. You know, the big action hits, punches, not that many speech bubbles, and people are gravitating towards it. Now, look at the West, where we have the short-term thing going on, thousands of speech bubbles, less fights, bad art. Do you see the opposite thing going on?
Yeah, and here's the other thing. I think I spoke with Perch about this either on his channel or offline, that manga started setting up a new infrastructure of distribution. They had something on black and white flip phones that was the clumsiest version of how to get their content out to their public. They knew it was an ideal, but they invested in it because they weren't looking at, God, look how clumsy this is. They looked at it as wait until the technology catches up to the thing that we want to do. And that's what I mean by like that short game versus long game, because that's how they knew. I think they calculated the people aging out and obviously getting it out to brand new hands for that new customer base, and they're winning. Their numbers tell me that they're winning.
Yeah.
So let's hit this Zook's pop culture super chat, then we'll move on to the next topic. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It does not help when you price yourself out of the market. Some comics are the price of a monthly streaming service, more bang for your buck, especially if you're in a market like the UK or you're here in the Philippines. Every comic book is 20% more than the cover price, and because I don't live in Manila, the only place where there's a comic shop in the entire country, I have to have everything shipped to me, so there's an additional cost on it. And I imagine the customers at Zoop's Pop Culture have to pay a premium because everything ends up getting distributed from the United States, and it ends up being exceptionally expensive.
Well, no, Diamond still does have their Diamond UK. They have a Diamond.
Well, let's hear from
European
Zoop's Pop Culture. I bet you they're more expensive than cover price.
Oh, maybe, but no, but he's making a good point here. Comics, their problem was once comics are a difficult sell to begin with for non-readers. So how did most of us start reading comics? It was an impulse buy. $4 is an impulse buy territory. $2 is about
$1.50, whatever a Snickers is.
I think they consider $1.99 to be like retail and marketing.
That's like a 16 Coke nowadays, right?
Yeah, that's a 20-ounce Coke is like $1.99.
Where are you buying your Cokes? My
No,
God.
I mean at the gas station. If you go to the, if you go to the gas
you get
station,
impulse
My
Cokes.
God, dudes.
yeah, if you go and buy bulk,
That's not the price at Costco.
yes.
No, I was just the Coke machine down the road is $1.25 still for a 20-ounce Coke. So anyway.
My
You're in the
point,
bowels of Appalachia.
yeah,
That's
my
right.
point
It's
is
awesome.
you walk into a 7-Eleven in normal town, fucking everywhere else, and a 20-ounce soda is about $1.99. That is where product like impulse buy ends. You're at double impulse buy. You're
sometimes
not
even
going. Yeah, I know, but like bare minimum double impulse buy, except for Spawn. That's
No,
like literally the only comic.
Doc is
Well-
right though, because the impulse buy it could be batteries too.
Yeah,
that's like $4 or $5.
yeah. Like I stopped buying things that run on batteries that aren't rechargeable because
Yeah.
batteries got so goddamn expensive.
Batteries are expensive.
Well, almost, except for the stuff he gets from Adam and Eve. Anyway,
Yeah. So I do want to say thanks to Zoop's pop culture. We'll kind of wrap up the comic books and piracy debate. We could do an absolute 2-hour show just on that. Did anyone else have like one last thing to say for like a minute or two before we move to Spider-Man?
Shout out to Eric Larson for having the longest porn book known to man.
The longest published porn comic ever.
No,
because
I love,
Anita Blake flamed out.
no, Eric Larson. I love Savage Dragon. Don't get me wrong. I love you, man. I love you.
Just go watch Axel Braun films.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic. I know a lot of people were trepidatious when Nick Spencer got the Amazing Spider-Man gig following up on Dan Slott. His Secret Empire was still fresh in the minds of everyone. Hail Hydra coming out of the mouth of Captain America. He also may have told a fib or two on how he was going to wrap that story up regarding the Cosmic Cube. And for the most part, in my opinion, I think he's redeemed himself. He stopped bashing customers. He stopped, saying bad things about people. And I genuinely think he decided he wanted to put out the very best Spider-Man comic book that he can. He's done a lot of pretty good stuff. There's some forgettable stuff in there as well. I'm going to throw it over to Drew. What are your thoughts on Nick Spencer leaving Spider-Man? Did he redeem himself on his way out of Marvel Comics?
Oh, he absolutely redeemed himself after that. And honestly, we can't sell, even when we do back issue nights with Ernie, we can't sell the Secret Empire stuff. We can't, even if the Mark Brooks covers. But he has redeemed himself. I'll say on a whole, we haven't gotten Sinister War yet. I'm very anxious for it, and they're really hyping this up in the solicitations. But it's been okay. His run on ASM has been okay on a whole. And I'd say he has redeemed himself. And I can't wait to read the Sinister War. Should be fun, hopefully.
I think him leaving Twitter was the best thing that could have possibly happened.
I was just about to ask.
That's the best thing that could happen for a lot of people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I think that he basically. I heard that he got an ultimatum. That it was like, you're gonna calm down or get out of social media or you're gone. And he
Good for him. He did the right thing.
Yep. And I think that saved him.
What are your thoughts on his Amazing Spider-Man run there, Pele?
I like it. I've really enjoyed it. When it hit its stride, around issue 25, 26. And it was like, ever since then, it's just been.
Once it started to get into that hunted territory.
Yeah.
I didn't really like 2099, whatever, but the stuff leading up to Last Remains was good. I didn't like the way they ended that story arc. I imagine that's going to get ended by the time he's out of there, but he's had he had some real hits along the way.
The sales have completely come back to where they were in their middle teens heydays. It's back to where it was in the mid-teens when it was popping on all cylinders for what it can do.
Well, I think
story-wise, what did he start getting right? If you guys are saying that previously it just wasn't clicking as
He
much,
got
but
MJ and Peter back together, which was the big thing.
Yes.
He learned how he learned how to tell stories again. You've got the build up, you've got the setup, you've got all, you put all the ingredients in place, and then you get the payoff. And he learned how to do that again.
because he wasn't doing that before.
No, he was just kind of, okay, this is a setup, oh, I'm going to pull the rug out from under you. This is setup, oh, I'm going to pull out the rug. You know, and it's like, oh, come on, let him just win. Let him have a success here or there. You got to let him, you know, he can't just be your whipping boy for 20 issues without giving him some joy or some kind of satisfaction.
Sure.
And it came back to that, and it was like, and people were like going, yeah, Spidey's kicking ass again, you know.
Early on, he started establishing like B plots and C plots, like the subplots that were kind of running in the background.
Kindred has been a big plot that's been running throughout it.
But then he hit shortly after. I think it was. I don't remember if it was Hunted before or after 2099.
Before.
Okay. Then you had Hunted, and it seemed like, and then he started getting into that habit that a lot of modern superhero comic creators are doing, where everything is like, there are no B plots, there are no C plots. It is just whatever the current story arc is. And he went through about 2 or 3 kind of crossover event type things in a row there, where he just totally forgot about all the other shit that was supposed to be going on. And it started getting crossover happy, with crossing over into other books, and people weren't reading for that. And it wasn't just one; it was like one after another, and then they stopped that again. And he got back to doing those B plots, the C plots, the under, like the whole thing leading up to Sinister War, and they're doing it smartly, where they're just dropping little bits here and there every couple of issues to remind you, hey, this other shit's going on in the background. And that's what keeps people wanting to come back. They want to see, in addition to the payoff for the story they're reading, they want to see the payoff for the story that's coming, that they know is coming.
Yeah. Right. The payoff, if you're going to pay off the cover to 74, that's a big, like, well, wait a minute.
One more day.
Are you saying something here? What's going on here? Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wants Tom Kingified Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it's been. And, you've got, nobody's going to forget Batman number 50. No one, especially not me but anyway.
There's a reason. Yeah.
Oh God, it was so painful. But, and you keep getting that, not to that degree, but it just kept happening over and over again in Spider-Man. Just, and there was a fatigue among the fan base. It's just like, I'll come back and buy it whenever he can finally, when the writer gets his head out of his ass.
Yeah.
So we do have a super chat from You Murdered That Guy from north of the border in Canada, $7 Canadian. My goodness, let's raise the vibrations. Tell me about something that reminds you why you love comic books. Lately, for me, it's Keith Giffen's art. What makes you reminded that you love comic books, Fatal J?
Les Ronan.
Boom. How about you, Eric? What reminds you that you love comics?
The art on Planet Size X-Men. That guy, they should back up the entire bank into that guy's garage.
I'm also a guy's art is.
I liked him a little bit more when his name was Stuart Eminem, but
yeah, sure. Yeah, but the industry, the industry is built for it. You know what I mean? Like, if you find a guy that's good, there's going to be 3 guys that's just as good. What I'm talking about is like we were talking about this earlier. He is the guy that is perfect, the best example of what it means to graduate to a next book, right? He worked his butt up. I remember working with him way back in the day when we were doing Power Man, and his style was completely different. And then he switched his gear, and to your point, Doc, he went down the Stuart Eminem route, but he's doing it well,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he gets me excited to look at the next book again.
About who's the Jedi that was in Star Wars Rebels? Kanan? Yeah, he's got a Kanan book when they weren't giving him many big titles yet. So I'd like to see Pepe their ass up there.
I like his art. I just like making fun of the fact that they've been stuck on Stuart Eminem clothes for the last 10 years.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, Doc. So what makes you remember that you love comics?
Honestly, current ASM. I really enjoyed it. I am really enjoying it. It's probably the best that Spider-Man's been since the JMS era.
Who do you want to take over for Nick Spencer?
This is the problem.
Too long.
This is the problem. I'm pissed off that he's leaving at this point. I swore to God I would never read anything that he wrote after Cap. I dropped ASM from my pull list, and my store they literally gave me the first 4 copies and said, first 4 issues, and said, please read this and think about it. And I put it right back on it because it was that good. I enjoy it. I have no idea who I want, just not Dan Slott.
Let's not get Dan Slott. All right, Pele, what reminds you still love comic books?
I really like the writer-artist combo when they get a single person's vision on a comic. And lately, that has paid off in spades. Those are the best books. Those are the ones that have passion. Those are the ones that are the artwork may not be perfect, but it's just, you can tell that there is this intense love of the craft in what they're doing. And I tell people, if you find books that are like that the person is writing and drawing and they have you can tell they have a great love for it. I said that'll be one for the history books. That'll be what you need to collect.
Well, you mentioned, what do you call it? You mentioned Beta Ray Bill earlier, right?
Daniel Warren Johnson.
Peter Parker. I mean, and then you had, although it wasn't selling that well, Spectacular Spider-Man, whenever I cannot. Chip Zdarsky was writing and drawing. Those were amazing. Just every time that you see that, Dave Sim shouting out to Cerebus, you could say all you want to about, whatever his problematic views were, but that man, you cannot walk away from that comic book after reading that comic book without realizing that man loved that character.
And the backgrounds look like something that should be like in like if the Bible.
Well, that was his buddy. That was Gerard.
Oh, okay, but still, when you look at that book, it's like, is this how the Bible should have been illustrated or something?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So, Drew, what reminds you still love comic books?
2 names, one old school and one new school. Gore Vidal said one of them, Barry Windsor Smith. He is my old school guy. I love Barry Windsor Smith Wolverine. I can read that all day, every day, to the end of my life. And the new school, one guy I love, I was going to talk about this later, James Herron on Ultra Mega. This comic is flipping amazing. This guy is legit genius. This comic series is fantastic. I cannot speak highly of this enough. James Herron, seek him out.
Drew, did you get that monster book?
The comic book retrospectives on the channel, and later on we will have a comic book retrospective talking about, what is it, Justice League 22, 23, 29, and 30, all the Crisis stuff that Gardner Fox did. Absolutely fun stuff. So that is what reminds me how much I enjoy comics. Thank you so much, You Murdered That Guy. We've also got Jordan Fugate, also known as Jordan Fugate. Spencer has brought excitement back to ASM. You guys are getting me through mowing my yard this hot Kentucky morning. Love tuning in. Well, we love that you're here, and thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Thanks for mowing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Hopefully you don't get too hot out there. Have a cold one if you need one. All right. Does anyone else have any ideas on who they would like to replace Nick Spencer as a writer on Amazing Spider-Man?
One guy said in the chat, Kerr Andrews. Bring that guy in. I want him writing and drawing.
Yeah, dope. I agree.
Yeah. Barring him, Donny Cates.
Not Chip Zdarsky?
I think Zdarsky's already had a good one. I think that he needs to mop up after a Cates run and kind of bring things back down to earth. If you put Cates on it,
working on anything.
Yeah, if you put Cates on ASM for 50 issues and then have 25 issues of Zdarsky right after, you'd have the best 75 issue run of ASM ever.
Like I know why you said Ken Andrews. A great Spider-Man.
I know why you said Andrews though, because of that indie book with the little kid.
Well, he already did Spider-Man work before that, but Radix is certainly a reinterpretation of Peter Parker.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty excited about Kate Speak on Hulk too. As people talking in the chat, that's got me going right now. I'm really
that is going to be dope.
That's going to be something dope.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? Are you excited for Sinister War there, Pele?
I cautiously because you've Sinister could either be just absolutely amazing or bar sinister. So it's like, the hand giveth and the hand taketh away, and sometimes it sucks and sometimes it's amazing. So it's it just depends. It really depends. It depends on how far they're going to let Sinister run and what kind of leash it's going to be on. What kind of leash he's going to be on. So
all right, well, let's talk about the first big issue that we had from Marvel this week. It was Venom 200, also known as Venom 34, the swan song for Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. on the series. Obviously, we've had Absolute Carnage, we had King in Black. This was kind of there handing the baton off to the new creators, which would be Al Ewing and Ram V. And it looks like Phil Kennedy Johnson will be doing a mini-series, including Flash Thompson. Me personally, there are some things about it I loved. I love the implication that we're going to have the Ultimate Universe led by the Maker in invading the 616. I think that sounds amazing. It sounds like that's going to probably be the end-of-year like big event at Marvel Comics. Mm-hmm. I'm down for that, but there are some other things about it that I wasn't too enamored with. I'm going to throw it over to you, Drew, because I know you had some similar thoughts, and let you guys talk about it. And there's somebody outside. I got to go tell them to shut up. I'll be right back.
Do that. Put them down. Put them down. No,
so yeah, Sean and I reviewed it on Tuesday, and Sean fawned over it. I thought it was okay at best. Not worth $10. Multiple art teams. And a lot of those kind of slice to life stories, you know, where it's him eating pizza with Peter, and you see Dylan getting picked on by another student, and you see Flash Thompson interacting, trying to stop a Starbucks robbery. It's like, I really don't care about much of this. I want to focus back on Eddie, and I want to see more of the Maker, because they tease the Maker for, I guess, later on if they choose to go with it. But that's what I wanted. You know, if it was like if this was a whole issue of him clashing with the Maker, absolutely worth $10. But it was all right. It was okay at best.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say that I cycled through it earlier, and yes, there was multiple artists, and I always thought, like, you know, without context, just reading this thing, which is unfair to the title, I was hoping that all of those things that you just said, Drew, were laying down the seeds towards something. Mm-hmm. You know, like, again, I haven't read Spider-Man in forever, so I thought, okay, this little slice of life, as you describe it, maybe it means something to the consistent reader. But now hearing you talk about it, I was like, oh, those are just kind of these weird throwaway scenes that these other artists could do, and then it gets right back into the main storyline. So that's kind of interesting.
I was kind of disappointed that they didn't really go into the Captain Universe, storyline very much. It's like, oh gosh, this enigmatic force out there, and we go, they went to great lengths to explain everything about Null, and they've done, and all this detailed information for like well over 100 issues, backstory, all this kind of stuff. Here comes Captain Universe. Okay, it's all done. Yeah. And it's like, oh, no. We really need more explanation. We really need a little exposition on this, and we just didn't get it. And I was like, oh, I know that they've had Captain Universe miniseries, and they've had, but that's so long ago, and I think that the meta has changed since then, whether you want to call it, a revision or whatever, or I'm sure that there's probably a better term for that, but I want to see what his ideas were regarding Captain Universe. That's just my thing, because I really like that character when he shows up, and I thought it was a brilliant finish right there for King in Black, but I just wanted more of that, and a lot of customers wanted more of that, and we didn't get it, and I'm not happy.
Yeah, there's only a couple issues. That was it.
Yeah, I'm not happy. Yeah, so but anyway,
Didn't even get the costume. Didn't even see the Captain Universe costume.
Right. Yeah, where's the blue and white? Come on. But it's just, it is what it is, and
didn't they just do Daredevil with the Captain Universe powers just recently?
Was it? I thought it was the other.
No. Remember? Oh God, around Marvel 1000 or Legacy early on, they did some promo art with Daredevil wearing not the true Captain Universe costume.
Oh, that's when he had the sword and he had the That was
War of the Realms.
Yeah, that wasn't Captain Universe. That was
it wasn't?
No, that was the Fulcrum. He had the power of the Fulcrum.
What the fuck is the Fulcrum?
It's like the balancing of the universe, the power to balance out,
Oh, Daredevil was Baldar.
Balder, yeah. The power of the fulcrum. Okay.
Can I ask you guys this is this most recent issue of Venom, right? Like, what are they potentially leading up to? I know it's them sort of stepping away and saying, thank you very much, you guys. This is the end of our run. I was trying to figure out the potential stories that they can tell moving forward. One is obviously his kid taking on the mantle, right? That's definitely one. Chains around his forearms. That's a little charming scene about him liking it because it looked cooler. That was nice. But is there potential there? Have they set up this kid to be anything but just like the I remember reading King in Black, and I'm like, this kid is the fix-it-all for everything in this plot line.
Yeah, he's a Franklin Richards. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, it's a little lazy to me, but whatever. So are they setting him up correctly?
I think that I think so. I think in one regard, yes, because he does have more potential than his father. Because of his overall connection with symbiotes. Mm-hmm. Or did his father take all of that power from him?
I thought that's what they were implying.
Yeah,
I thought he's extending him like the you can drive the keys to the car for right now, son, because it's both you and me. And I'm like, oh boy, okay, cool.
But I don't know, and I think a writer in the future could say no, he left him some of that, or he left him, he gave it back, or I think that there's a lot of that. There's a lot of there that can be exploited, or it can be forgotten and ignored. So it really depends on where the writer wants to go with it.
Yeah. It left me with a lot of questions because, again, disconnected from everything. Oftentimes at the end of runs, when they hand off the baton to somebody, I get excited. You know what I mean? I get amped at the next set, like, oh my gosh, there's so much potential here and I can't wait. So I was trying to take your guys' temperature to see whether or not there was a lot of excitement. Hey, look at that adorable baby, Wes.
Hey, Wes made that.
This is little Eric.
What's up, Eric?
Excited to make his debut on the channel.
He was named after you, Eric. He was named after you.
You didn't have to name your kid, so I'd show up to your show, Wes.
That is awesome. Yeah.
He's named after Eric of Dacia, so it's ARIC. He's got an old man face. He's got some crinkles on his forehead, but he's getting cuter every day.
Yeah, looks like he
start out. They start out old. Yeah. They start out old, but they start looking younger and younger by the day.
Yeah, he's got Wes's brow line.
Yep, he's already scowling, thinking critically. So I'll let you guys get back into the Venom. My bad. I just wanted. Here's the baby. I'm about to.
You can't just bring the kid out and us not keep going. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Cheap pops.
Yep,
absolutely. We will do anything for some cheap pops here.
Yeah, yeah. But if you guys are excited for the new story, the potential of the new storyline, I think that's pretty encouraging because that's what you always want to leave. You're not. Tell me, Jay. Tell me why not.
I mean, there's just nothing really floats my boat at Marvel right now in DC. I'm the indie guy. I'm sorry. I'm the indie dude.
You're high, man.
I definitely am 24/7, but still, it's just nothing that's floating my boat.
Okay, we'll put the purple drink down.
Okay,
and get into some ASM. Hulk's gonna be pretty dope.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. That Better Ray build that you talked about, that looks dope, and I need to get that today.
You need to buy it.
Yeah,
buy the floppies. Go out, buy the floppies.
Yeah,
you can find them everywhere right now. Although the first issue is getting kind of hard to find at cover, so
I can get it. I got people that know people. I can get it. I can get it.
Find his original series, Metal Shark Bros. He did that for I think he did that for Image, but really good. That's where you guys start. Metal Shark Bros.
On the issue of Venom moving forward, I think that Al Ewing is a solid choice for this. I've liked what he's able to do with the more cosmic side of Marvel over the last few years. He's kind of like that spiritual successor to Abnett and Lanning in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed what he did with the Ultimates and Ultimates 2.
Yeah, that was good.
With the one that was set in the Marvel universe, the one that had like Captain Marvel and Blue Marvel, and I actually liked America Chavez in it. I didn't hate Captain Marvel
Was that what he?
terrible.
Was that where Galactus Lifebringer was brought into?
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Oh
where,
man.
where they changed, where they fixed the nature of Galactus.
Wow.
I really enjoyed that series, and I thought he would have been a very solid choice if it wasn't going to be Chip Zdarsky to do Fantastic Four, because I thought he could bring a lot with the science and exploration and kind of very metaphysical, weird, crazy nature of the universe stuff that would be right in Fantastic Four's wheelhouse. Especially because at the time, I think that was before Zdarsky brought them back in 2-in-1, which he didn't really even do. And yeah, so I thought it would have been a great, since they were off kind of building a multiverse at the time, that it would have been a great, choice. He would have been a great choice for that book if they would have explored that, but they didn't, and instead they gave us Dan Slott. Yay!
Don't remind me.
But no, it was a good. So I like what he's able to do with the kind of and I think Venom, especially with like Captain Universe involved, Null. Well, not really Null, but that kind of. Really,
if they bring that back though, because they haven't shown that Captain Universe is going to have anything to do with going in the future, though.
No, they haven't, but they can. But if they want to bring all those elements back, I think Al Ewing's well capable of doing it and playing in that sandbox very well.
I wish Captain Universe was Null now, and Eddie Brock just wasn't anything, I guess. I think making him a god just stripped everything cool about the character away.
It did. As far as Brock, yeah.
Yeah. That was one of my big complaints. The other one, I was like, do we really know Dylan Brock? Does anybody want a 5-year-old or a 12-year-old that's got his own symbiote?
Do you guys think they made a move in that direction because we've kind of had Eddie Brock saturation? Like, how do you build on that character after being around for so long? They kind of clean slate it and give you just enough information about this kid so you can start building on developing him as a character with this symbiote on.
Well, I don't think. Go ahead.
For a while there, Eddie wasn't Venom. It was Flash and a few others.
Oh, right.
It wasn't really until recently when Eddie came back. I wouldn't say that's so much a factor. It's probably let's shake things up. Let's bring in Dylan as Venom now.
Mm-hmm.
I hate legacy characters, so fuck no. No, I mean, although, you know what? It's Marvel in the 21st century, so the minute they have a successful movie and they're about to come out with a sequel to it, yeah, sure, let's just change the fucking character.
That never happened. What are you talking about?
Because they haven't done that already a dozen times. Let's capitalize on the Avengers by making none of the Avengers Avengers. Good job.
Sure. Well, that makes a good point. We got a Lane Kramer super chat here, Doc. I'm going to throw this one over to Drew because I think you've actually probably read this. I stopped reading Heroes Reborn. I checked out of that bad boy, but he says, did Marvel pay for DC characters to show how good they are? Null, Dark Phoenix, taken down by Power Princess, and the Avengers are basically trash.
So I'm going to say right here, I'm probably the lone person to say this. I have enjoyed Heroes Reborn. I have had fun with it. I've had absolute. I was thinking I would hate this, and almost every single one I have enjoyed. And I'm to the point now where it's like, can we have this as the Marvel Universe for like a year, 2 years?
Do you want to buy my copies? Do you want to buy my?
We're going through them fast. We're selling.
Nobody here likes it. Nobody's like, if I want Wonder Woman, I'll buy Wonder Woman. If I want, the Batman, I'll buy Batman. And it's like, because we're Marvel house. Basically, and DC is kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm out. I'll get a few Batman titles, But 3/4 of the books we sell are Marvel, and then Indies, and then sliver of DC, and back issues are like 84% of our sales. So Heroes Reborn I thought had potential, but.
It's weird. The first story in the book is just like a standalone of whatever the character is. Yeah. And then like 10 pages of story in the backup continue like the main story.
But if you read a lot of these side stories, I mean, to me, it's like a great. So I am a DC guy. I'll admit, I'm a DC guy. But reading these, like the Dan Jurgens, Tim Seeley one they did with the night Gwen Stacy died, changing up to the Falcon. They drew it and wrote it in the style of the 1970s, which was fantastic. I did not see that coming at all. And they had, speaking of writer-artist teams, they had James Stocco, I believe, writing and drawing one of the issues of Heroes Reborn. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. We did the Spectrum. And if you haven't read that, find that, because he did a great scene with the Rocket Raccoon and Groot that's like mind-bending, especially if you're on drugs. I can't begin to imagine what that looks like if you're high. But
if you're on shrooms, get you some Heroes Reborn James Stocco.
Yeah. I have had fun with this. They've been very creative with this, and part of me thinks they didn't really realize that this was going to be as popular with our customers, at least, that it would be.
Well, it's like my wife went with me to the shop, and that's one of the first things she picked up. She goes, "This Wonder Woman." She picked up, no, this is Power Prince. What? And she sitting over. She sat over, looked at it. She read about half of it because I was kind of watching a little bit, wanted to see her reaction. She read about half of it, and I said, "So, what do you think?" She goes, "I have no idea what to think," and she put it back down and just walked to the back. But because she's a big Wonder Woman fan, and I was like, "Well, do you think that they, did a good job, kind of, not spoofing, but their take on Wonder Woman?" And they said, "Yeah, but she doesn't have Diana's personality, and I don't think that they know what her personality is."
Well, you can kind of pick it up. She's pretty power hungry and evil. She's like the exact opposite of Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
she's supreme power princess.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like an Ultraman universe kind of,
No, it's JMS's supreme power.
Supreme power, yeah.
No, but all I know is when we're all done with this, this is just telling me DC should hire Jason Aaron to get him the fuck away from Marvel, because I hate these. I don't care about DC, and I don't like Jason Aaron. And get him out.
All right, so that'll wrap up our Venom 200 discussion. Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman are off that title. Cates will be doing Hulk. Al Ewing is a new Venom writer. We've got another a marketing publicity stunt. Bad Ideas closing down. We've got the final 5 titles. I'm going to be honest, Doc. I know you're picking up the Bad Idea comics for me. Yes. I do appreciate that. But their marketing campaign to troll people, I don't get it.
Are they trolling people?
Yes. That's
kind of.
Yeah, they're purposely pulling out all the bad tropes and doing them just to show how bad they are.
What are they doing? Explain to me, a layman. What are they doing?
I gotta take the baby up.
What are they doing? You guys,
do you want to?
What are they doing? I don't know what they doing.
You're a little more better connected to this, Doc.
Okay, well, I mean,
but it'll be rambling.
They decided to run their business, essentially taking every possible bad suggestion on how to run their business and distribute their product. Okay. And now they're failing at it. So, I mean, it all makes sense. It's like this weird meta troll where, hey, we're going to call ourselves Bad Idea, use bad ideas for our distribution practice, have bad ideas for how our social media and advertising and marketing, and then fail.
Well,
so is they a parody company?
And the stories themselves start off as bad ideas. Each one has started off as a bad idea.
So is they a parody company? This is a parody company?
Yeah, and to a point, yes. It's kind of like, that was their hook. That was their marketing hook is, we're going to do all bad ideas and we're going to have fun with it.
Right. And so now that they're... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, and it's just it's a marketing thing, and and it's caught attention. It's caught the attention of everybody. So
limiting one copy per customer, no additional printings. So it's going to be like a not first printing after the first printing, and limiting the number of stores they go to, and no digital copies, as far as I know. You have to go to the store to actually get them.
Yeah, and like there was one book that you could literally only buy on the Wednesday it was released.
Yes, it's the Pizza Detective one, I think.
Yeah, the pizza, the Hank.
Yeah,
something.
And there were a lot of them where you could only buy this book if you bought all these other books too.
Yeah, like it's like it's the weirdest way to run a company that I have ever. It's like they just took every bad business idea that has been suggested on Twitter for how to fix the comic industry over the last couple of years and made a company out of it.
So they're not trying to do a Jedi mind trick by making you think this is a bad idea, but it's really a good idea and they selling comics.
Well,
or they really?
No, they're legitimately selling comics, but it's everything that doesn't work, like long term. They're fine short term, and there's a reason why they're. But I can almost guarantee this company, they have their final 5 coming out from Bad Idea. It will be relaunched the minute issue 5 comes out as Good Idea Comics.
Yeah,
and go with big distribution.
Good
Yeah, they
idea.
had all these ideas that they said this is what Bad Idea is, and I think it grew so fast they can't do it like that anymore, so they have to rebrand it.
Yeah.
So they're going to go to Good Idea and use all of the good suggestions and everything like that, and using all the marketing from the bad ideas they had to kind of push it.
But it's all the guys that were behind Valiant Comics before they were bought out by DMG Entertainment.
Gotcha.
So it's Dinesh Shamdasani, Warren Simmons, Hunter or something. But that's why you got Matt Kent, Robert Venditti, Dysart, Peter Milligan. You have all those creators there. Tomas Giarello. So I'm a supporter. You know, I appreciate Doc picking the comics up for me, but obviously they're not closing out. We do have a super chat talking about Heroes Reborn from Exploding Printing. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I think Heroes Reborn worked best for someone like me, a person with very little knowledge of the squadron. I enjoyed it, but I can see why most don't. I don't know that most don't. I think a lot of people are enjoying it.
I just say if you really wanted to get a good, like if you wanted to actually really enjoy the squadron, literally go back and find those Max Comics, JMS era Supreme Power, and then Squadron Supreme, as well as like the Hyperion versus Nighthawk miniseries. There was a Dr. Spectrum miniseries. There was a couple of them. They were all good. I mean, and they're very much in that vein of what if Marvel did DC.
Yep. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. I will send this back. Drew, did you guys get Bad Idea Comics?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've always been a big distributor of Bad Idea. I'm looking at a long box of tankers right over here. We're still holding on to, just in case we're sitting on.
Yeah, I'm like Jewel. I'm like Yule. We did not play their silly games.
Okay.
We did things according to what we wanted to do it, and I even told the creator, I was like, "We're not playing your games. We're selling the way we want to." And he's like mockingly shaking his finger at me, going, "Bad retailer, bad retailer." So.
All right, but Drew, what did you guys think about working with Bad Idea? Did you like the restrictions?
Yes and no. But it was difficult at times because we had only get so many copies and we had so many orders. We have to cut them off at a point, which was kind of aggravating. But with this new I don't know if we're gonna be talking about the last 5 here in a bit. We're gonna see my thoughts later.
We can do that right here in a second.
So we ordered heavy on that. I'll say this: we ordered heavy on the last 5, and
the
final 5, and because we've had a blast reading Tankers, ENIAC, they've been fantastic. So we're gonna keep playing their games. They sell for us.
I mean, we still get the books.
Yeah.
It's just we decided not to play the game, but it's just and it's sold. We're doing a lot better on indies than we have in a while. So
you were ordering heavily on the final 5. Got some interesting stuff there. Tankers is definitely the one I was the most interested in. What do you got? The guys in mech suits fighting dinosaurs.
It's been hysterical. It's been awesome, action packed, And this latest issue too, the backup story in that with dealing with the caveman through time. I think there's one caption of dialogue in each panel. It's fantastic. I mean, yeah, Tankers has been for me the favorite one so far.
And Shanghala from the Comic Book Clubhouse, if you haven't subscribed to his channel, you're crazy. That dude's got a lot of good comic book collecting stuff. Not a single customer at RLCS has asked for a Bad Idea book.
What up, Yule? I see Yule in the chat. What up, Yule?
What? Well, you should subscribe to Fantastic Comics YouTube as well. We got Yule
That's
Carter
a really
now.
great channel.
Absolutely. Yule's a great guy. We'll probably have him back on the channel here soon. All right. Do we have anything else to say about Bad Idea before we talk about the next indie publisher?
Bad idea.
I took a lot of crap online when I reported it up. They're closing down. I got so many comments like, "No, they're not. No, they're not." It's like, hey, this is just their statement.
Right.
Bad Idea itself is shutting down.
Well, I will say that I think of most of the people that were buying, consistently, were buying as speculators. So that's not good.
Right quick, right fast. So Bad Idea is ran by the guys that rebought Valiant Comics.
Back in the day, yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
about
okay.
10 years. The one about 10 years ago, where because not like Jim Shooter created Valiant, and then it got
Bob
Yeah,
Iger.
yeah.
old, and
But
then it
I
ended
know
up with the claim, and then
Yeah.
blah blah blah, and then
But there were some guys that bought it after that.
Yes.
Those are the guys.
yeah, they bought
Okay.
they bought the license, I think, off of Acclaim, and then rebranded it. That was Dinesh and the others,
That's correct.
and then he got forced out the same way Shooter did.
Yeah. Yeah. Once they got the Sony movie deal. So let's move on to IDW. They reported another $500,000 loss in the previous quarter, despite sales in their publishing department going up. We know that they had an enormous amount of debt, Pele. They've apparently found some investors to come in. They can't really borrow money on the traditional markets because of their credit rating, and they continue to lose money because of I guess it was blamed on games this time. How long can you lose money before you just can you get angel investors indefinitely? What's the market like right now?
It has gotten so bad for them that they were turned down for junk bonds. Their credit is so bad that I don't even think that conventional ratings would fit. You have the D minus, quadruple D minus,
Yikes.
F-rated bonds. I've bought junk bonds before. I've been into the junk bond market, and typically, you've got a I wouldn't say a guarantee, but you're going to get your money back even if they liquidate. If you buy the bonds cheap enough. And it was just, it's literally the idea of throwing good money after bad.
Can I ask
What
a
is-
quick question? Why is they losing money?
Yeah, like what's their business? I don't understand.
Yeah,
They
in my head-
decided they were going to get into the streaming business, and they invested in their IP, which they didn't. Most of their notable stuff is licensed material. They
Right.
can't do streaming stuff for TMNT, Ghostbusters, and the licensed stuff they had. So they decided to run with a couple of properties that were less known. One of them was like a zombie, or was it vampires?
Mm-hmm.
Z Nation, I think it's what it's called.
Yeah.
There was another one. They produced it all in house, so they paid
Winona
for it
Earp.
all themselves.
Oh,
And they finally got on Netflix, but since Netflix didn't help produce it, they didn't get a cut of whatever, so they had less skin in the game, so it was never really
yeah.
advertised, so those didn't do very well. Lock and Key did do well, but
Yeah.
Netflix helped cover the cost of producing it.
Yeah,
I
Let
want to
me-
know one thing real
let me-
quick though, real fast. I promise I'll be quick. I never understood the licensing game with comic book
Oh
companies.
God. That's a
How
long
do
one.
they make money when all your
Very-
titles is licensed?
very, 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 very minimally.
Yeah.
If you can do well for a while for the terms of this, like if you really hit it out of the park and really grab a lot of the existing fan base, and
If
while
like
you're
TMNT,
but while you're on this current license, you can make money. But the problem is, once the license starts getting close to expiration,
You in trouble.
no, you're not in trouble. You're
Mm-mm.
the licensee or the licensor will start demanding
Have
more money
leverage.
for the license, and now you have to sell even more. So,
But Doc, you
it's
remember
short term.
Dreamwave? You remember Dreamwave comics?
Well, yes, and Dreamwave made money because Pat Lee stole it. That's how they.
But, anyway, what Wes was talking about as far as how they're getting money and the issue here is that they've reached so far down into the barrel to try to get money now that they've reached the people who almost literally want your soul. And these are the people that they're going to require promises, and they're going to require equity and leverage that at this point IDW
they can't deliver on that.
Yeah, absolutely not. And they have leveraged everything that they possibly could leverage. I've heard that the executives of the company are privately leveraged their personal possessions and their personal property and stuff. But it's gone so far now that I think that they're just basically talking with liquidators.
They have been for about 9 months.
So let me get this right.
And the liquidators are, that's the end of the road. If you're on they're right now on a timer. They're on a 180-day note.
That's what it
that
sounds like.
if they're not pulling money on 180 days, then they're gone. And then everything will be liquidated. Everything that they own.
I just want to get this right real quick. Let me get this right real fast. Let's just say IDW came out with a Transformer G1 comic, and that comic book blows up. By the time the expiration date of the license of that comic is coming near, the owners
Hasbro
will want more money once they renew their license.
To renew it.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Because now you've made their license more valuable, so you get punished for it.
Right.
You win while you have it, but you lose when you renew it. But look, what it comes down with IDW is they're on like year 7 or 8 of doing the exact same shit, making no adjustments, and expecting shit to start turning around.
Right.
It's more like year 5.
Because ever since about
Winona Earp's only been on for 4 seasons.
I understand that, but they had already lost all their industry cachet and being a prestige publisher. At this point, I'm pretty sure the only thing they're making any of their revenue on is selling the artist editions.
No, so they're definitely making money on Last Ronin. That's a very expensive comic book, and they're definitely making money on like that March comic that they put, that graphic novel.
Yeah, but that's a drop in the bucket for their
but that's not their losses. The comic books have nothing to do with why they're going to go out of business. It's all about their entertainment division and their streaming stuff.
It's like there's this tiny sliver that's profitable, which is the comic publishing, and that's like 4%.
It was their games that were profitable, and then they stopped doing games.
Yeah, I want to know what what these games were. Advanced royalties, vendor deposits, and game costs. Where are these damn games?
They had a lot of licensed games.
Wow.
And they've lost those as well.
Then you've got the other 96% of the business, though, which is hemorrhaging borrowed money. In
theory, they should turn a bit of a profit on the next quarter when Lock and Key shows up on Netflix and they actually get some payments for it.
That's the bar. That is the big gamble, and we're talking about like shorting Bitcoin at 100 to 1 margin type gamble.
That's what they're counting on.
And it's the kind of stuff that no sane person would do. And
but they still co-financed it, so they're still only getting percentage of. They're not getting the money that they would have.
If they produced it in house.
Yeah, they produced Winona Earp in house. The problem was they could only sell it to fucking Sci-Fi.
Yeah,
and Sci-Fi doesn't pay any money.
Yep. So and without Netflix co-producing the material, it doesn't go into the suggested viewing thing when you go to the Sci-Fi section, and that's why Lock and Key is there. And Z Nation and the other one that they did I can't remember the name of that one. So
they have another season of. Oh wait, no, it was Black Summer that just came out. Z Nation doesn't have anymore.
Nah, the two that they had are both canceled. It's Lock and Key that did Lock and Key. So it's not looking good for IDW. We shall see. I'd hate to see him go. I love the Kill Lock. I really like the Highest House. I really like Kanto. A lot of the original IP stuff is good, but they've just dug themselves in a hole and it has nothing to do with comic books.
Yeah, I'd like to see.
That's unfortunate.
I'd like to see Titan or somebody like that just take their publishing division and fly with it.
They
There's IP in the publishing division, and those licenses in theory, if they went with the purchase, make it somewhat valuable.
One of their big problems is for the longest time they didn't develop in-house IP. They
were just doing licensing stuff.
Yeah. And so whenever they decided to jump into a streaming game, they didn't have anything to fucking
Didn't have the
sell.
library. Yeah. Those
nothing.
are problems.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sad.
Of course, we do know Boom Studios. I think they just started up their own entertainment division for developing things for streaming and movies as well. So they're making the game, but they have an enormous library compared to what IDW have of original materials, including a shared superhero universe, called Black Hammer. Or no, is that Dark Horse? It is Dark Horse. But Boom Studios does have all those the things that they're working with James Tynion and stuff. So they actually have stuff to work with.
Another one bites the dust.
Looks like it. All right, let's get into Planet Size X-Men. People were mad at me on this one. Doc and I have a full conversation coming out tomorrow for This Week in X-Men. Did you get to read Planet Size X-Men, Eric? What did you think?
I did. I love the art. I've loved that guy's art. But there's no way you are leaving a giant. First, I wanted to ask you guys, does the writer he slips my mind.
Generic Duggan.
Yeah, generic Duggan. Yeah.
Does he know how to stick a landing as far as story is concerned?
No.
That's
I like the
problematic.
Savage Sword of Conan. I thought it was great. But
especially for something this big, this thing was enormous. I mean, appropriately so. But all the concepts that were being set up here were great, but it is so far removed from my understanding of the X-Men. You've basically leveraged them to be infallible people, right?
You remember back in the you remember back in the
God.
Olympics, they had the little Struggs or whatever her name was that she did the vault.
Harry Strug.
And she with a broken foot, she went through and she did, and she stuck that landing, and it was absolutely perfect with a broken leg.
Yep.
He's the opposite of that. if she would have landed on her face, that's Gary Duggan.
Yeah,
I think this would require a level of editorial coordination that I am unwilling to believe Marvel can pull off. Right. After this issue, there's so many things that's been set up with this thing. You're like, okay, you're giving them all the best pieces, and I don't know if you guys can pull this off. But I'm gonna look at that pretty art all day.
Yeah, I bought the book for the art.
I will put it this way. Now, this is the only thing I'm going to really say on this, because Wes and I do have a conversation on it that'll be coming up tomorrow. Editorial oversight and coordination on this. They couldn't even in 12 issues remember that 3 of the main characters in this issue that are on Mars, terraforming Mars, are also on fucking Krakoa, being the bouncer, having a conversation, and being named to the X-Men at the same time.
Oh, boy.
Literally at the same time.
So,
the artist is Pepe the Raz. Yeah. So we do have a super chat from Lane Kramer. Okay, will be a super impactful story for 2 months until Inferno, where the last page of issue 1 has their new planet in flames and it's made pointless.
Well, that is the social credit that you've now instilled in your audience, in which they turn cynical right away. It's not. They've set up so many amazing things with this issue, and Larraz has helped to stand that up visually. But your audience goes like, why does it matter? You're going to burn everything down in the next, crossover anyway. That's really heartbreaking,
All right, so Drew, what did you guys think? Was this in your must-read pile when you did your recommendations?
It was for me. It blew me away. This was one of the better. I mean, looking at what all the X-Men books that have been coming out since House and Powers, this has been one of the better ones, which surprised me. To me, I was just shocked. Like, they're literally they're terraforming a planet, and I did not expect this from Jerry Duggan at all. And
this was my issue with it. You have this amazing idea. Like, oh my goodness, this is game changer. Mm-hmm. But they forgot to build up all the tension and stakes. They decided that they needed to ship an entire island full of mutants that are like warriors to Mars because they got into a bar fight in Japan.
And because Captain
Where's
America,
the conflict that like sets up this big thing? Like that's an enormous event. To
But there is
people
no
off to another
conflict. That's
fight.
the twist. There is no conflict.
Right.
That's the problem.
But that's what I'm getting out of this issue. There is no conflict. It's just win after win after
That's what I
win
was like,
after
it's
win,
just-
right?
Yeah.
Scene, and then it was like this would be so much better if there was an underlying story that was happening where World War III is about to kick off and people, shots are about to be fired and they're like, oh my god, we got to terraform Mars and get these fuckers out of here, before we lose everything on Krakoa that we built.
it should have been
The X-Men, as I've come to understand them, aren't like that anymore, right? They don't ever face the same sort of hardship that they did back in the day. Everything is win for them, no?
Yeah.
Well, they
Okay.
come off as villains.
Wait, unless they're fixing the world, and then the Avengers need to fix that.
Yeah.
Because they've done it a couple of times where, they created Utopia twice, and the Avengers needed to fix it, and then they wanted to just change the death cloud from the Inhumans to not kill mutants, and they were the bad guy for that too. Forgot about that. So yeah.
So I'm with you, Drew. Great idea.
Yeah.
I just forgot to build up to it.
I just got distracted by the whole terraforming. That's probably my fault. I'm like, he's taking a step by step on the terraforming of this planet, which is crazy.
We all read that article in Popular Mechanics too.
Well, they did something similar in House of X Powers of 10 when they explained the mutant resurrection process, right? They explained the 5 and how it all happened. It was really exciting because you've been introduced to this new concept after you saw these characters that you love died and they're back. You're like, how the hell did this happen? They explain it to you and you're like, oh my goodness, this is all happening. And there's like no build up. And then it was like, this is great. They would have
plot progression, the comic.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's a cool idea.
The moment you have characters that can pretty much generate anything and everything that they want, not one character, but a whole slew of them, I don't know where you take that from there.
There's no value. There's no penalty in death. There's no, it's just,
That's my big
and
problem.
that's when I knew it was screwed.
Yeah.
Because
then you look at the way they present it, and it's essentially following like on the first day God did this, and the second day, and it's instead of taking a week, they were able to do it in 20 minutes. So they're even more powerful than God.
Yes, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's all very much applied. Did you read it, Fatal J?
No, because X-Men is my favorite team, but these current Marvel comics and X-Men comics, it's too stressful to read, man. It's just, I'm listening to you guys describe the story, and it makes me not want to read it. It makes me not want to read it, man.
Well, I'm not doing a good job. I'm sorry, Fatal
They're
J.
doing a hey, look, I'm sorry, but the X Office is doing a good enough job making you not want to read it themselves. We're just helping them out.
I picked up the Brett Booth X-Men, and
that was great.
Legends. Yeah, that's the best one.
It is great, but the story still didn't pull me in. The art is beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
First issue was good. The second issue was a little verbose.
A little iffy.
Yeah.
So we do have a super chat from Lane Kramer. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'm sorry, I think the Mars thing is stupid. It goes against the premise of the X-Men. I'd rather see them in upstate New York fighting time like lost potato farmers who are inbred cannibals.
I do agree with it.
I don't have an issue with elevating concept and nuance, right? Like you put a creator in place so that they can tell their X-Men story. I'm a proponent of letting them tell their story well, and that's why I asked, like, has Jerry Dugan ever stuck the landing? Right. So in capable hands, something this big and something this epic could work. But what I'm looking at is like, who's in charge, right? If you ask me, has Michael Bay ever told like a ridiculously over the top action movie? The answer is yes. Has he ever told a ridiculously over the top movie that resonates emotionally? Maybe not.
Isn't
so
Bad
much.
Boys Michael Bay?
13 hours.
13 hours. Yes, 13 hours. Yeah.
There you go. It's like, so you kind of take their track record in total. Yeah, exactly. There you go. You're like, what's the win-loss condition on this story based on this
Not
writer?
good.
Right? There you go. Because the art's going to hold it up, right? The art's going to hold up if this guy continues. That's the other thing. I'm like, this
Pepe
is
Larraz.
awesome.
Pepe
Right?
Larraz.
This is awesome. are we going to get 6 issues of this guy, or are we going to get 2, or are we going to get?
Well, I know Pepe Larraz is doing at least the first couple of issues of X-Men with Jerry Duggan, which is going to be continuing this story. Now, if he sticks for longer than 4 issues, I would be shocked, because the X Office just doesn't keep any good artist. We'll get 12 issues of Phil Noto drawing people with tiny little baby legs, which I really love his cover art. I just don't like his sequentials. But giving Pepe Larraz 12 issues on X-Men, probably too much to ask.
It's too bad, because it felt like he was one of the creators that really brought House of X Powers of 10 together, and he hasn't got you'd think he would get a run after that. I guess they don't want him to be a superstar. That's what I think, Eric.
Well, they
don't want to elevate him.
Didn't they send him over to work with Dan Slott?
That was RB Silva.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that. There's a bunch of stuff behind the scenes that I can't account for, not the least of which his speed and output. Right, if he slows down the title, and if they're on a monthly schedule,
everything Jonathan Hickman said was he was really fast during House of X Powers of 10. And that's where they're able to put it out weekly with RB Silva.
I really hope that's not that. That's stupid if they don't do it. That's dumb. He's literally the guy that I would, in my opinion, would bring people back to looking at your X-Men book. He's that level of art and quality to me, independent of the Stuart Immonen comment.
Don't apologize to Doc. He is...
No. I think he's good. I'm just cranky.
You are cranky.
I would love to see that this all leads to a human mutant war at this point, because the mutants have shown how much power that they have now.
They just created.
I would love to see a huge war between humans and mutants at this point.
They just named Mars the capital of our solar system.
Mm-hmm.
They have an enormous army of 10 million mutants that are war-hardened veterans.
They
can bring through a gate at any time.
How do you pay that off?
To have a war.
Yeah. There's no way to pay that off narratively and have it be believable. There's one mutant character terraformed a planet, the other one dropped giant meteors on top of it so that they can extract the iron out of the ground. That's not a fight. There's no good version of narrative that will be impactful enough to make that work.
Yeah. I think it's going to connect back to the whole Nimrod thing and eventually the Phalanx. This is the whole point of this, is getting us to the future we already saw in House of X and Powers of X.
Yeah, they got to start creating the Chimera mutants on Mars.
Yeah, and you're gonna and the thing is, this is kind of like the same thing with Future State, except for they wasted the first 18 months of this story, and now we just have to we forgot about all that future stuff that we promised in this. Let's just and then to make it, to get us caught up. When you procrastinate, and then you try to write an entire research paper the last night. That's what they did.
So Darth Bobcat agrees that you are cranky, so thank you very much for supporting the channel. Drew, I do want to send this back to you last. We weren't going to talk about, but I got to ask, which one did you think was worse, New Mutants or X-Corp?
X-Corp. Honestly,
New Mutants was just awful.
I cannot fathom the idea of trying to sell a comic on, hey kids, want to read about selling pharmaceuticals in different companies?
We're getting the board together.
There was exactly one writer on the planet that I would trust to wrght that. And his name's Joe Casey, because he already did it in Wildcats version 3.0. And he did it fucking great.
I don't know. Whoever did Wall Street could probably do it, but
hey, is New Mutant still doing Safe Space and
that's New Warriors.
That's
gonna come out in November.
That's the other one.
That's still coming out. That's still coming out.
They already paid for it.
Safe Space
and
and Snowflake
trailers they've ever had.
Oh man, that's gonna be
whatever. Drew, you guys are gonna buy a bunch of copies just in case, right? Curious?
Yep.
Yeah.
We want those hidden gems.
But I thought New Mutants was worse because it absolutely had no plot. It was just people talking.
People talking, and then a death at the end, which I know Sean and I were like, yes, finally, they're gone. Get them out of here.
Doc couldn't remember who Gabby was.
Yeah,
Is this me? I don't remember Danny ever having a sister.
That was Tom Taylor's run. I remember that. I'm like, why is this character here?
Oh, is it? Oh, was it a Tom Taylor creation? In which case, then it doesn't fucking count.
Yes.
It's in the comic.
I don't care. It doesn't count. Nothing Tom Taylor or Jason Aaron ever does counts.
You guys.
Yeah. So there you go. Planet-sized X-Men. I think great idea. I did not think it was, the execution lived up to the premise. This should have been like a 4.5, 5-star comic with the art that you had and the concept that you were executing, but you forgot to build up to it. So there should have been something driving this event to happen rather than fireworks.
So I have a question. Magneto just terraformed a planet and destroyed some stuff. He's going on trial soon. I wonder what else he's involved in that gets him put on trial. Does it have anything to do with terraforming Mars, like I said?
Nah. He's got to kill somebody in the last 3 issues.
On Mars.
Nah. He ain't gonna kill nobody, man. You're crazy. He's not gonna kill anybody on Mars. It's gonna be at the Hellfire Gala. We've already seen him return. He came through the gates. He's ready to have some drinks.
Until we find out he already killed someone on Mars.
Dun, dun, dun.
I told you that he kills the AIM base on Mars. When I end up right, you can all apologize.
I don't apologize for shit, but I will say you're right. All right, let's get to the last topic. This is probably the most ridiculous thing we've ever talked about on the Comics Aficionados, which is saying something. I don't get the interest that everyone seems to have in what comic book characters or cartoon characters do in their personal time with their significant others. But apparently they wanted to put a rather raunchy scene in a Harley Quinn comic with Batman performing something on Catwoman. Didn't seem like a story to me, but everyone was talking about it, so I figured might as well talk about it here on the Comics Aficionados. Fatal J, you seem like a YouTuber that would drive a story like this. Why were you so interested in what Batman is willing to do with Catwoman?
Well, you know why it kind of went viral, this controversy. The King.
I'm sorry, but he was after the fact that hashtag was trending before he even
true,
put that tweet
but
out.
he boosted it, though.
He's what you call a hanger-on, a tag-along. He jumped on the bandwagon.
Don't talk about the King like that, sir. Okay? No, but I mean, I don't care. It's stupid. I mean, what's the big deal? What's the big deal?
You just called Zack Snyder stupid?
No, I'm not. I didn't say Zack Snyder. I did not say Zack Snyder. I'm talking about the concept of people thinking this is a thing to talk about.
Wait, hold on.
Harley Quinn does that all the time on the show. Do you guys watch the Harley Quinn show?
No, I don't give a shit.
It's a good show, though.
Wait, hold on. I gotta say something.
I watch cartoons. Paw Patrol, Loco Nuts, Oddbods, stuff like that. I don't get to watch Harley Quinn with my kids.
I don't watch that many animations and cartoons and all that, but Harley Quinn is a very good DC animated show. You guys need to watch it. It's funny.
To conceptualize that.
It says Batman spends lots of time in caves. We've also got Nerdette's Nerd Stand. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And we've got Lade Kramer. I'm a Batcat fan. I didn't need to see Dave Cockrum's son post naughty art of X-Men he did years ago. Please, someone snap this whole thing. Yeah, I was not a fan of what Zack Snyder posted either.
Whatever.
It was. I'm sorry, Pele. I interrupted.
If DC hadn't kiboshed that whole thing, BS&P would have, right? They would just said, okay, of the many things, and by the way, the person that they interviewed who worked on that show said, to contextualize it, they've gotten a lot of creative freedom on that show. That was the one that they nixed. And I don't know why we're making such a big deal out of it, right?
It's a children's show still. Why are we?
Nah, they drop F-bombs in that cartoon.
That's not a children's show, trust me.
It isn't? Okay,
no,
it's an adult
but it's
cartoon.
Still.
Yeah,
you watch the first episode, Doc. They drop so many F-bombs.
Okay, yeah, but there's a distinct line between making it fucking cartoon porn and just saying fuck a lot.
Yeah.
Now, just
It's
real quick,
it's a nothing.
just real
Yeah,
quick.
it is a nothing.
I realized I found out the Gabby that they killed wasn't Danny's sister. It was fucking Laura's sister. They screwed that whole. It was Honey Badger that they killed.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Good.
Oh,
What?
Oh, good.
that's the Gabby they were talking about. I was so
Yeah.
confused. The writer
From
didn't
Run the
even keep it.
Runaways?
Yeah, the one from all new.
Wolverine.
No, all new Wolverine.
Yeah.
The clone of Wolverine.
Yeah.
Here's how,
Oh,
going
good.
back to that Catwoman Batman thing, here's how awful and cynical things have become in their reporting as I'm reading this thing that Wes referred me to. At the end of that article, they say something like, Bruce has used Russian ballerinas and supermodels as props, right? And that behavior apparently isn't frowned upon. And I thought, like, that's not what this conversation was about, Mr. Hollywood reporter reporting. This suddenly you leverage it to be
Gotta be misogyny.
misogyny and sexism. That's not what this was about. But good on you for trying to pivot this into something a little bit more clickbaity, you know?
Well,
and that's
they've
my
gotta
point.
make it, yeah. They gotta
This
make
is
it
nothing. This is nothing, and people are trying to turn it into something. So
Yeah.
In Batman Year One, to hide an injury, he hires a woman to make it look like he's sleeping around with her. He's like, I don't know what language she speaks. He just paid her to just sit there and do nothing. In equating that to this, that's BS. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
And like
nothing
you said,
thing,
even
but-
if DC approved it, once they try to get it through the regulatory authorities, they would have been like, you can't do that with Batman.
Yeah, I was telling Wes about this offline that in the Batman animated series book that they released, there is a drawing by Bruce Timm in which, keep in mind, this, Batman the animated series wasn't rated R, but there was a bunch of things that broadcast standards and practices would not let get through, and Bruce drew all of them in one image as sort of as sort of a tongue-in-cheek kind of like, this is the stuff that we're not like everything from partial nudity to like open syringes to the characters crashing through glass, through everything else. Like BSMP would have caught it and they would have said, to get this off the air. Assuming, of course, this is direct to HBO, no?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they wouldn't have done it. But certainly, I understand where DC is coming from. I don't understand. I don't agree with the rhetoric, but this is nothing that somebody turned into something.
Yeah, everything from Batman's crank in the Batcave, is just unimportant. That was the peak, and they can't get back to it, and they're upset.
All right, we do have a £5 super chat from Zook's Pop Culture in the UK. Doc, what will make you less cranky?
Firing everyone in the X office. Everyone.
Zeb Wells is doing great. I love the art for Steven Segovia.
If I'm not going to disagree with you, I think that's the only really great book, and Hickman's all right when he gives a shit. I mean, he's actually really good when he gives a shit. The problem is we need a whole clearing. We got to throw the baby out with this bathwater because it's a lot of bad bathwater.
What if they
That
bring in
will make you
Jason
less
Aaron to
cranky.
run the X-Men office?
Well, then we got to throw him out too.
So you would still be cranky.
Actually, what would make him less cranky is the subject of the conversation we were just talking about. It's been a while for Doc, poor guy.
Maybe he needs to go to the script club. All right, Drew, you were the one that hadn't read Hellions, correct? Drew?
No, I hadn't. Yeah, I hadn't.
And you finally did. I was like, hey man, this is really good. Did you get a read?
Yes,
What
I
did you
did. Yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, wow, this is actually good. I couldn't
Really good Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it was just fun. It was just a fun, enjoyable read. Even the one during the Hellfire Gala, that was like the one Hellfire Gala good issue. That was fun.
Like absolutely hilarious. I love it when Nanny breaks that bottle open and she decides she's going to start stabbing everybody.
Yeah.
The party. So that would make us less cranky. More Hellions and less whatever else they're doing today. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. I don't know. Does anyone else have anything to say about this Batcat controversy? I know Fatal J's probably champing at the bit. Oh, I'm sorry, Drew.
I got one thing to say. Let's play a parallel of this. Let's say that there was a Justice League R-rated animated series on HBO, and you had, let's say, the showrunners wanted to do a scene of Wonder Woman going down on Bruce Wayne, and they pushed back saying they wouldn't let us do that. Would there be these staunch defenders for that?
But I think it's because the person from DC said Batman would never do that.
Yeah,
And
because they
the
did that already.
That he is not
It's an animation movie out there called Arkham Batman. I'm not talking about the video game, but it's with the Suicide Squad, and you have Harley Quinn sleeping with Deadshot. So I don't see what was the big deal with this thing right here, unless, like Wes said, the morality of Batman. So
it could be Batman's just that IP. It's just that IP of Batman. They don't want that big IP being exposed to that and losing its value. Probably.
You know what happens when you do that?
Didn't they just go wild in the front yard of Wayne Manor? A while back. I mean, just throwing clothes off and like bras hanging off statues and stuff. I mean, I don't get it.
That's right. The Killing Joke did it too. That's right. The Killing Joke did a set scene too,
which was out of left field. I will never forget that.
Yeah, the scene on the roof.
Yeah, and that was Batman with Batgirl. Matter of fact,
it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it was strange. Seemed like a non-story, but everyone was talking about it. I thought we would talk about it. Seemed like no one else here cares either. It's like, whatever. Seemed like a weird story to happen. Let's get into our comic recommendations. We actually got through the show in pretty good time this week. This never happens. All right, Eric, what are you recommending people read this week?
Holy crap. I didn't know I was going to be asked for recommendations.
Okay. Guessing on the top of your head. All right. What do you recommend, Fatal J?
I'm reading a dope book, and it's funny that Pele said this because this creator, he wrote it and he did the art. It's a comic book by Antarctica Press called Stream Wars. Now, it's a parody on Star Wars, but this book is dope, and I recommend everybody go out there. Now, if you're not into manga, then still read it because it's dope.
This is an adult book? You said it was an adult comic?
No.
How many adult comics you reading, Fatal J?
I'm not reading none of them. This is a book by Antarctica Press, guy named Fred Perry. He does manga type stuff. He's the writer and he's the artist, and it's called Steam Wars. Like steampunk type stuff?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, you guys check that out. It's dope.
All right, nice. What do you guys recommend at the shop there, Drew?
We are always recommending Ultra Mega. Like I said, James Herron. I am not afraid to say this word. He is a genius. This guy is a fantastic writer and artist. I cannot get enough of that. And Legends of the Dark Knight. This series, it's only been 2 issues.
Is that the Derek Robertson?
Yes, I love it. This is a Batman comic. That is how you do Batman. And
all right,
Heroes Reborn. It's fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's fun.
All right. Well, you know that you guys have you do some Facebook stuff. What should people be looking out for in your Facebook channel? That's also in the video description if you want to go find it. I know you sell some comics and do some other things over there, right?
Yeah, we have our Merc Magazine Kickstarter. It's getting ready to cross 50K. It's got like 4 days to go, and we're always selling. We got new exclusive covers coming out, and we got big things coming up soon with other publishers, other exclusive covers. So yeah, check out comicslatecomics.com. Go to Facebook, Comics Late Comics. Got a lot of cool stuff.
What kind of exclusive covers you got this week? Anything cool?
We just announced we've got a Department of Truth coming out. Looks pretty awesome, and some other ones that we're working on one right now. I can't talk about. That's gonna be awesome.
He's got to be. So if you want exclusive covers, go to the auction site and definitely check out their Facebook. That's like the biggest comic book auction on Facebook, correct?
We are the largest and biggest. Oh, the big boss just walked in here. Sean, you want to say hi? Say hi to everyone. The big man's here finally. The owner operator of Comics Elite.
I think you just called me fat. What's up, guys?
What's up? Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Man, that's a good shirt. I got a very similar shirt myself. Nice. All right, Eric. Now that you thought about it, is there anything in your past, like a comic book that you were really proud of that you worked on, that you think people, if they want to get that Eric Canete feel and get ready for Arc Athena, that they should go out and find?
No, don't buy.
Don't read any of his old work.
Only buy things that pay him for it now.
The last thing that I remember being incredibly proud of is the last thing I did with Mark Millar, which is Chrononauts 2. That was a lot of fun to do, primarily because working with Mark, primarily because he pretty much let me do whatever the heck I want within reason, the narrative of the script. So if you haven't read that yet, please go do so now.
Oh, go check that out. And Arc Athena is going to be out in September?
It will. Well, the crowdfunding starts in September, right? But in order to get all the newsletter for it, please go to my.com and ericcanete.com. There's a sign up for it there, and it will give you like behind the scenes stuff, not the least of which the announcement for when it fully goes live in the crowdfunding space. So,
Eric, you still doing redraws on the YouTube channel?
I am, yeah. So thanks for all the setup, Wes. You're amazing. YouTube.com/Eric Canete. I stream every Tuesday. On occasion, I will do the video upload of me redrawing a bunch of stuff, primarily fan art, because that's where my heart is. So go check that out if you can.
Sweet.
Definitely. If you didn't get what he was saying there, it's all in the video description. You can get his website, you can find his YouTube channel, all that stuff. You can follow him on Twitter. That is for all the people on here if they have YouTube channels or other websites. All right, who else we got? We got Pele. What are you guys recommending down in Parts Unknown?
Okay, the shop recommendation for the week was Venom 35. Big surprise there, and it was fine. It was fine. But my recommendations are two indies. If you're not reading Nottingham, what the hell's wrong with you? You know,
Matt
Nottingham
Cave is absolutely kicking ass with that cover. It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. Awesome book. I love Nottingham. It's one of my favorite comics running right now. It's just fantastic. And the other one is Usagi Yojimbo number 20. Introduction of a new character. I've really enjoyed the series.
Respect.
And it's introduction of a new character. Miyamoto. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he's new bunny. And he's the new samurai bunny, and he's going to be palling around with Usagi for a while apparently. But and you'll be helping IDW out, I guess, through their financial troubles if you buy it. And but it was a good book.
And Pele, that's another artist writer combo right there.
Stan Sakai.
Yeah,
you just can't. You can't. Yeah, there's nothing bad to say about Stan. He's awesome. Yeah. So those two books this week, just buy them. They're great.
And Joe Corallo's in the chat. You see him on the channel a lot. If you like Joe, he will be on the comic writing stream tomorrow. And I believe his second issue of Beckstar comes out. Is it next week? Drew? You go to comic shop. Is it next week?
Yeah, I think Beckstar comes out next week. Yeah,
it's next week. So definitely be looking out for that. If you want to support Joe Corallo, good guy. And like I said, he will be talking about writing comic books. We are going to be talking about networking the comic book industry and getting your name out there so you can get jobs in the future. Should be a fun conversation with him and Aaron Sparrow. Doc, I see that you have placed something in here. Am I supposed to throw this on screen?
Yeah, it's one of my recommendations.
This is your recommendation. All right, let's put it up here.
Something a little old. Yeah. In honor of Eric being here. Yeah. No, I love this. I love this one shot. It was great. I mean, it's square bound. It's awesome book, great story. Ladytron is a personal favorite of mine. I love Maxine Manchester, and yeah. So go hunt down this from the dollar. No, it's not going to be dollar bins, but it's going to be your back issue.
Bin.
Yeah. But probably between $5 and $10. Great read. Eric's art is amazing. Joe Casey's writing is top notch. And is it Jason Johnson that inked you on this?
No, I think so. I was so behind on that book. Somebody else had to come in and do the heavy lifting to take it to a close.
Oh, really?
So he's I think it's Jason. Jason?
Okay.
Yeah. I think they took it home.
Yeah, Jason was working at Wildstorm a lot back then around that time. So I figured it was Jason. But yeah, so definitely check out Ladytron from the back issues.
Thanks, man.
From new stuff, I would say honestly, I don't think there was anything. I read a couple X-Men books and it really killed my desire to.
One of those things you read that X-Corp and New Mutants back to back, and you just can't read a comic for a week.
Yeah, it literally it wasn't as bad as when I read just X-Corp number 1. That killed my reading for 2 weeks. I literally couldn't read anything. Every
Yeah.
time I pick up a comic, I felt like I was going to vomit. And so, yeah.
Sorry for laughing.
Oh, it's true. It's just absolutely dreadful. God, it's so bad.
But so yeah, so I honestly can't recommend anything new. I'll take everybody else's word for it. But if you're looking for a cool, fun back issue, go check out that Ladytron, Wildcats Ladytron from Eric and Joe.
Doc, who created
Thanks, Doc.
America Chavez? Was it Joe Casey or Kelly?
Joe Casey.
There you go. There you go, LK. I knew Doc would have that one. I'm going to be honest. I'm a bit behind on my comic book reading. I have a 6-year-old, 2-year-old, and newborn. I'm still juggling trying to get the content on the channel, so I've read a few things. The best book I guess I would recommend is Seven Swords.
Yes.
It has
I recommend
really,
that.
really
Yeah.
good art. If you like the Three Musketeers, it's going to be right in your wheelhouse. Really swashbuckling. There's a great panel where he's fighting up like a monastery and stuff. It's really well done. So I think that's a really promising start. If you're an X-Men fan, you need to read Planet Size X-Men, even with the issues that I have with the story. If you're a Venom fan, you need to read Venom 200.
Yeah.
Even though I think that could have been better, because those are really pushing the narratives forward just in those universes. Unfortunately, I didn't get to read everything else, but those are the three that I would kind of recommend out there. And thank you all for joining us today. Anyone else have any last alibis before we wrap this up?
Come watch us on our back issue show that we're going to be
Slabbed
doing
and Raw
every
will be
single
on
week.
Monday.
Slabbed
Yes.
and
That's
Raw.
awesome. We'll do.
And where we talk about stuff that a lot of other comic collecting shows won't, or just kind of take for granted. And we're having a great time every single week. It's an hour. I wish it was longer, but we're starting out at an hour, and we're having a great time. And if you have any suggestions or have any recommendations, you have any shots of your collection or any particular books, just send them to us, and we will get them on the show, and we will talk about the concerns that you have.
This week we're going to be talking about, is comic book collecting a rich man's game? Have they priced a lot of old school collectors out? Are there bargains to be found for DC Comics? Everyone's looking at those Marvel comics right now. Should you be looking at DC for some better value? And and how much would a flat or even failed MCU actually hurt comic book collecting? So we got some great stuff to talk about this week. If you're into collecting, Slabbed and Raw is must view, and it's also available on the podcast. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Eric, for joining us, giving us some of your perspective.
I really appreciate it.
You're a very wise man. I want to put that out there.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Wash your ass.
And
Damn
watch
it, you
deeply.
stole it from me.